Friday Night Live on a Thursday. We missed it. It literally just binged as StreamYard was clicking over to go live. So we will do an it binged after we roll the intro. I bumped us forward tonight because not only do we have a judicial sassy Duggar ruling, we have Jen Shah firing back at the government's participation in the Shah Shocker Hulu documentary. And we have a whole bunch of shit going on with Ethan Klein being attacked by Triller and now one of their co-owners, Ryan Kavanagh, in court. It is just going to be a night, but there is also an update in the Triller case in Los Angeles. Those motions have been filed. So we will probably do the Kavanaugh suit first, and then I will look at summarizing those other motions. They are fairly long. The court hasn't decided if the court's going to allow additional briefing. So it's so much legal. And there's, we're not going to touch on the other trials going on tonight because we just can't. There is so much happening in these three cases. I'm going to do a briefer one with Shah and Duggar today because there's so much to cover with Ethan Klein. And this is now the third Triller lawsuit. It's just, y'all, there's pictures though. There's pictures. And you know what? Truthfully, Triller wilding out is not as deep and dark as the shit going on in the Duggar case. Let's just be honest about it. It's horribly annoying to Ethan. It's going to be expensive. He is fighting over free speech, in my opinion, and we will just get into all of it. All right, so we should just roll the intro. Replay crew, love you so much. Everything will be timestamped in chapters below, so you can just find the stuff that interests you most. Since we're pretending it's a Friday night on a Thursday, I overserved myself already, so that's going to be good. Look, this cube's very big. Displacement is real. I don't know exactly how that works, but my kids in science, I feel like the cube being so large means it's not as much whiskey as it seems like. So let me know where you're coming in from, what you're drinking. We're going to roll the intro. We've got lots of legal shit to cover. Lots of cursey words are going to happen, and we're just... Yeah, we might have to go to DEFCON Red, but we're going to start with Jen Shah first, and that's maybe not DEFCON Red just yet.
Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery.
I love seeing that y'all have also overserved your house. Look, we're adults. We can do what we want. Not all adults act like adults on the internet. I mean, some things are just the truth. And sometimes we get to watch people wild out on the internet, and that's what some of these lawsuits are. But we're not even doing like a weekly roundup today because there is so much, and I have learned my lesson. The mods are the greatest mods across the internet. I know everyone feels strongly about their favorite channels. The mods have done such an amazing job keeping our chat a place to have conversation. And I'm trying not to make every stream the longest thing ever. Like I'm trying so hard. So no weekly roundup. We're just going to get right into it. We're just like, there's no just the tip tonight. We're just like, we're all the way into it. And I've already streamed today, business calls today. It used to be so funny. I would watch YouTubers and they're like, oh my God, I've been in calls all day. I'm like, what are you all having calls about? You're a content creator. Like, what are these calls that you all speak of? And now I am a YouTuber that finds myself on calls like half of the day. And it's merch and sponsorship and team and like having my team manage me because I have ADHD so that I get stuff done. And we're in the middle of creating something for our community as kind of a thank you. And it just there's just calls. It's just wild. So, maybe on our next members only live stream next week, I will talk about what some of those projects are and what that looks like kind of a day in the life of like, what are all these mysterious calls? Because that might be fun. But next week, we have our members only live stream. If you are a member here on the channel or over on Patreon, all the members across the two platforms have access to the members only live stream live or in replay. So if you are a member here on YouTube or over on Patreon at lawandordsunite.com, you can do that. Beginning of the month is a great time to join. And I just wanted to remind all the members that tonight we're not like hijacking our members only live stream on a Thursday. That is next week. Okay, let us do the YouTubey things. We've done the intro. We're just going to swoop. We're going to talk about Jen Shah first. It will be brief, but this motion is glorious in that it relates to this Hulu documentary that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. And I'm just kind of living for this. So it's a really interesting question. And I should swoop and then get into it. We'll do that. This question came up in my mind when I was watching this Hulu documentary. I was like, if you're not familiar with Jen Shah, we're not even going to do a very long road so far. We're going to do a brief road so far. If you are familiar with Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Jen Shah has been federally indicted for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering. She is slated to go to trial in March. Hulu did another documentary like they did for Erica Girardi called The Hustler and the Housewife. With the new one, it was the Housewife and the Shah Shocker, which is why my social media posts said SHAHcking new. Look, we try to be cheeky sometimes. Shocking new motion. The case agents were part of the Hulu documentary, sharing information about the case. I liked that they had members, like a number of victims, be a part of it. I love that they had the Bravo Docket, who has a great podcast, as a part of it. It was interesting to me to see that they had the active case agents, like not past case agents, but the active case agents on a case that is getting ready to go to trial. So let us, Cat, look, Fred is desperate for everyone's attention. He is more desperate for attention than a early 2000s YouTuber. Like, he's just kidding. Early 2000s YouTube wasn't around, right? So more desperate for attention than a Vine star who moved to YouTube. Let's just put it that way. And that is what's going on. So the nature and position of this letter motion, they do this in New York. It's weird. They just do. That's just how that happens. The nature of this letter motion is Jen Shah's team taking umbrage with the way that the government did this. So of course, we're professionals here. Let's get this screen sharing going. We're going to try to make it nice and big so everybody can read along and make me teeny tiny up here in the corner, or at least from my perspective. Hello, legal motions. So this is from November 30th. It just populated up on Law 360. They wrote a really in-depth and thorough article about it. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating. I've been down a rabbit hole on other cases. Thank you for the reminder. I love having case alerts on. We're super happy about that. Okay, so Dear Judge Stein, as the court is aware, we represent Jennifer Shah. Yes, the court is well aware who your client is. We respectfully submit this letter concerning the government's flagrant violation of Local Criminal Rule 23.1 by members of the prosecutorial team in a documentary which was released yesterday by ABC News and is available for streaming worldwide. Two supervisory agents with Homeland Security investigations gave interviews about Ms. Shah and opined on her involvement with the alleged scheme, her quote, lavish lifestyle. Look, if y'all haven't watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, that lavish lifestyle doesn't need to go in quotations. I get that her lawyer doesn't want to concede that, but come on. We've all seen the Shah Chalet. Like, there's no putting the shit back in that horse. Her lavish lifestyle, her alleged treatment of purported victims. These violations of Rule 23.1, as described herein, are reprehensible and severely jeopardize Ms. Shah's right to a fair trial. I will just remind you all that the quirks of pretrial publicity came up when we talked about Erica Girardi and whether Attorney Richards could be her attorney after he had commented so much on the case on Twitter and then continued to comment on Twitter. And the court in that case found that his Twitter account that the court opined was kind of on the smaller size, given the largeness of LA County. It's like, look, a few thousand or 10,000 Twitter followers or 20, whatever, isn't going to taint a jury pool of, millions. We're in a different boat here because A, this is a criminal proceeding. This is going to trial. It's not a potential trial in a bankruptcy court. And this is regarding the prosecution team, and it's an ABC Hulu documentary. So is the prosecution going to argue, well, not that many people watch Hulu anyway? Is that what we're going to get next? And of course, with my cat wanting to come and say hello, there's just this one. Drink whiskey. We won't feel it. All right. Accordingly, Ms. Shah respectfully requests the following. Ooh, here we go. I love that they put like what we want up front, though, by the way. Devil's Advocate said, inaccurate. Hulu does not stream worldwide. They only accept American payment methods, no foreign credit cards. Devil's Advocate, that's a fantastic point. Maybe the other side will pick that up in their motions if they know. I didn't know that. I should have known that because I was on a trip somewhere pre the world shutting down and was trying to stream Housewives on my Hulu on my computer. And I think the Wi-Fi picked up that I was out of the country and it would not let me stream. I should have just, VPN'd it. I didn't even think of it at the time. Anyway, I digress. Shah wants the following: leave to file a motion to dismiss the indictment, meaning, Your Honor, they screwed it in such a big way that we get this indictment dismissed. I don't know if that's going to happen. 2, imposition of sanctions on the government, meaning they fucked up, they can be sanctioned. And that is not the investigating officers that are sanctioned. That's the lawyers that can be sanctioned. They're the prosecutorial team. Discovery regarding the extent and nature of the prosecutorial team's collaboration with ABC News and other media outlets in an attempt to poison the jury pool. An evidentiary hearing to determine the extent and nature of the government's collaboration with ABC News, and issuance of a special order pursuant to Local Rule 23.1H, directing members of the prosecutorial team to comply with Local Rule 23.1. They shouldn't need to direct it. It should happen. But Homeland Security gives interviews to ABC News. On Monday, November 29th, ABC News debuted a documentary program entitled The Housewife and the SHAHcking. It sounds, maybe it's the word shocker that's taking on the connotation for me. Maybe it's the alliteration of the two, but the SHAHcking somehow sounds, I don't know, dirtier than it is. The SHAHcking on the streaming service Hulu. The program, which is currently streaming worldwide on Hulu's platform, purported to dive into the bombshell accusation against Miss Shah. This is not an After Dark. Emily, you're not sponsored by Adam and Eve tonight. Just calm down about the diving into. All of the entendre is happening in my brain. I apologize. Apparently this evening I am a child. It's just where it is. In brazen disregard for local criminal rule 23.1, 2 special agents from Homeland Security Investigations New York, one of 2 investigating agencies assigned to this matter, appeared on the program and provided one-on-one interviews concerning the case. Footnote 1. We are currently unaware if additional agents or other members of the prosecutorial team were interviewed, but they did not appear in the version of the program which was released worldwide. I want to know how they determined worldwide. But anyway, acting special agent in charge of HSI New York, Rick Patel, and supervising special agent of HSI New York, Anicia, I can't. I will get it wrong. Norman. We're going to go with Agent Norman. Provided opinions and information which is not publicly available concerning this case, including statements about Ms. Shah's guilt, the impact of her alleged actions on alleged victims, the agent's personal views about the nature of Ms. Shah's alleged actions. The program features both agents referring to the, quote, lavish lifestyles, unquote, of, quote, fraudsters, unquote, interspersed with clips of Ms. Shah from the filming of the Bravo's Real Housewives of Salt Lake City series. Yeah, I was sitting there going, wow, yeah. They did call her a fraudster. They sure did. They sure said that. They said fraudsters like Shah. Agent Patel specifically, I'm going to have to rewatch this. Agent Patel specifically commented on the circumstances of Ms. Shah's arrest, while Agent Norman's interviews included highly prejudicial statements concerning the concealment of money in offshore accounts. That's in the indictment, though. It's in the indictment, and it's in defense motions, and it's in government motions. That is public information. It was also in the publicly available hearing for the detention. So that's public information at this point. You have to hunt it down, but it's public. Agent Patel, we got there, concealment of money in offshore accounts, and even the suggestion that the proceedings against Ms. Shah have their origins in the investigation of a narcotics smuggling ring. Oh no, that wasn't a suggestion. I don't think that was a suggestion. They talked about how they came across this case and how they came across this ring, and there definitely was talk of a drug ring that kind of led them into this. So the program, which in addition to the testimony of agents Patel and Norman, also includes statements of alleged victims, which I thought was really interesting, as well as commentary from other individuals, is akin to the government preemptively trying its case before the general public. Notably, as stated at the conclusion of the program itself, counsel for Ms. Shah was repeatedly approached by NBC for comment, but refused in compliance with Local Criminal Rule 23.1. They make an excellent point that if they refused because of pretrial publicity rules that could prejudice the jury pool against a defendant, that they wouldn't participate and would expect that the government would participate, and then it would be, podcasters and fans of Jen Shah and the Bravo watchers kind of speculating and talking about the case, people talking about the Bravo docket, talking about the coverage they've done, the things they've seen coming in court, the motions they've seen. But they did bring in alleged victims, and they did bring in people connected to Homeland Security. What's different about the Shah case and the Girardi fraud case is that in the Girardi case, A, it's not a criminal case at this point, and B, the stuff relating to Erica was not tied directly to her. It was relating more to Tom Girardi than directly to Erica. Like, yes, her attachment was in it, but they weren't saying Erica Girardi is a this or that, where they did use the word fraudster, which, as somebody who prosecuted fraud cases, fraudster is a word that we used quite a lot. I was like, oh, that's very much a law enforcement way. There are certain ways you say things over a career, and fraudster or fraudy fraudster is fairly common vernacular. I was actually like, oh, there it is. There we go. Like, whoop, whoop, there it is. But the pretrial publicity of it all is a very real concern that I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. I'm not surprised they filed this so quickly. The conduct of agents Patel and Norman, government agents, and members of the prosecutorial team is egregious. I wonder if the prosecution will try to distance themselves from these agents and saying these are not agents directly involved in the case, but if they are the supervisors, that's going to be very tough to do. The agents acted in clear violation of Local Criminal Rule 23.1. I hope they cite the rule. And their behavior has destroyed any chance that Ms. Shah will have a fair trial with an impartial jury. I mean, I think those are big words, but it's the defense. They're allowed to cast things in the light most favorable to their defendant, and should cast things in the light most favorable to their defendant. It's the vigorous advocacy for their client. But I don't know if this will taint the jury pool more than the podcasts on this saying the same things, but it might be, it might have more weight because it came from alleged victims, because Jen is not, she has not been prosecuted yet. She has not been convicted yet. So from alleged victims, and weight coming from law enforcement is different than coming from Bravo commentators and Bravo podcasters. So there's definitely an argument there. The weight is heavier. Hulu is a streaming platform with millions of subscribers from around the world. The chat objects to that statement, defense counsel. In the fourth quarter of 2021, Hulu had nearly 44 million paying subscribers in the US alone. The Walt Disney Company fourth quarter earnings report, November 10th, 2021, available at the Walt Disney Company apps uploads earnings. But if they said only the US, do they only have 44 million subscribers? I have questions. The prejudicial effect that the program will have on the jury pool cannot be overstated. The agents violated the rule. The rule states non-public information or opinion, which is a big part of it. A big part of it. Non-public information or opinion which a reasonable person would expect to be disseminated by means of public communication in connection with the pending or imminent criminal litigation with which they are associated, if there is a substantial likelihood that such dissemination will interfere with a fair trial or otherwise prejudice the due administration of justice. So, they're saying that the law prohibits government agents from releasing non-public information. There is some information in there I had not seen before. It'll be interesting to go back through and watch it again through this lens and then give comment on it. Statements of opinion, which I would want to go watch it again before I say, yes, I agree, those are opinions. But there definitely was a strong impression. Opinion as to the accused's guilt or innocence, or as to the merits of the case or the evidence in the case, are an example of such extrajudicial statements. The interviews given by the agents are rife with statements of opinion as to Shah's guilt and the merits of evidence of the case. Such statements disseminated at a national and global level. Look, no one outside of New York can be a jury on this verdict, a jury to render a verdict on this trial anyway. Stop worrying about the global level. No one in Canada can be on the jury, you know? You're not getting anyone from Brazil to sit on this jury. They have to be local to the Southern District of New York. So just enough with the global. Like, we get it, it's big, but if it was just disseminated globally, they couldn't complain. Like, if they aired this in California and everywhere but New York, they can't complain about it as much because they didn't air it in the jurisdiction where the jury is going to come from. It should be noted that the agent's participation in the program is the second time a member of the prosecutorial team or the USAO has made public disparaging statements about Ms. Shah. Ooh, when was the other time? I want to know. As the government is aware, on August 20, 2021, an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York was overheard at a New York City restaurant. Oh, tea. I didn't know this. Was overheard at a New York City restaurant loudly bragging about prosecuting Ms. Shah and discussing evidence and potential witnesses. I want to know where that was reported. Someone send me the info. I need to know where that was reported. The chat's asking, is George sitting on Fred? Yeah, they do that. It's like a cuddle of kittens back there. Oof. The event was brought to the government's attention at the time, but did not appear to warrant the court's intervention at that time. The collaboration between the government agents and ABC News, however, is indicative of the government's continued disregard for Ms. Shah's right to a fair trial with an impartial jury. This cannot be tolerated. I mean, it's definitely not a little garden party. It's an ABC documentary. Requested relief. Shah respectfully requests that the court grant leave to file a motion to dismiss. The government's conduct here has eradicated Shah's right to fair trial with an untainted jury pool. They should at least get to evaluate that. Given both the extensive viewership of Hulu nationwide, they should get to know what those numbers are. And Ms. Shah's public notoriety. Look, she chose to continue filming the show after her arrest. Let's just appreciate that happened. She didn't know she was going to get arrested. I think she probably knew it was going to come at some time. Speculation on my part. But she continued to keep filming. So, all right. Where are we? A change in venue would not protect Shah's rights, nor would alternative remedies such as detailed voir dire or emphatic jury instructions. Jury, you cannot consider anything that you saw in an ABC Hulu documentary. I bet you can find jurors. I bet you in New York you can find jurors who have never watched a Hulu documentary and who have never heard of Jen Shah. Like, I imagine that will be possible. I don't think everyone in the world, like Jen Shah might think she's the center of the world. I don't think everyone in the world is watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I have friends that are Bravo watchers that aren't watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Just. Ms. Shah also requests that the court impose sanctions on the government for the misconduct detailed herein. Furthermore, Shah requests discovery, which, fair, which is necessary to more fully understand the extent and nature of the prosecutorial team's collaboration with ABC News and all other media outlets. Shah therefore requests the production of information concerning 1, all communications between any members of the prosecutorial team, including but not limited to AUSAs, government agents, and ABC News and or other media concerning the case. 2, identify all of the government agents and other members of the prosecutorial team who provided information to ABC News in connection. 3, any involvement of the USAO in the program. 4, all releases, waivers, or other documentation provided to any member of the prosecution team in connection with the program. Shah additionally requests an evidentiary hearing to determine, inter alia, the extent of participation and direction of the U.S. Attorney's Office in preparing the program. It's like, oh, it wasn't ABC. It was the U.S. Attorney's Office. ABC was just like the production company. I don't get the sense that that's how that went down. And who approved the appearance of the agents is a blatant violation of local court rules. Finally, Shah requests that the court issue a special order instructing members from saying anything. Shah expects that discovery will reveal additional grounds for dismissal, imposition of sanctions, and or other relief that she therefore reserves her right to raise as such issues as they may arise. That is the Shah-mazing Shah shocker of the Shadden shit show that is the pretrial publicity. Look, it is not often that we see cases like trickling down on social media and on television all at the same time. And in a criminal trial, it is very, very different than with others. And I know a few of you guys are like, we're seeing phone numbers. These are public records, and this is the law firm's public information from their website. Don't call the law firm. But this is a publicly filed court record, and these are business information that are easily findable. So it's just like, I guess we'll see. It's just, I'm interested to see what the court does. I think there will be some questions about it. I think that means the court's going to have to watch the Hulu documentary. I wonder if the court will ask if it's flipped or if anybody wants a colonoscopy with a chain link fence. I mean, the things that courts are getting to watch these days, we're going to talk more about what the courts get to watch these days in a minute. But first, we're going to talk about some shit the court is watching that they don't want to be watching. And that is the Josh Duggar case. Nobody wants to watch. Oh, that's right. It binged. We should bing. We're going to bing. And then we're going to move over to the Duggar case real quick and talk about this opinion and order, talk about the clergy privilege, and talk a little bit about who has testified in the trial so far and where that coverage is living, because we're living. Oh, it binged. Move your head. Ah! It bing. Thank you all. You can go ahead and remember to do the likey, subscribey things. We are shooting for the outrageous goal of 200K by the new year, like 200K by 2022. It's like a lot of twos. I feel good about it. We'll see what happens. We're entertained. We're here to make content and talk about cases that I'm curious about anyway. So, it's what it is. If you like the content, do the things. All right, y'all. We've talked a lot about Duggar. I'm not going to rehash for all of you that hate the detailed facts of this case. I am going to do my best to sanitize what we are talking about, and will do that. We are going to go through the court's latest ruling The procedural history of this is in pretrial. There were a number of pretrial motions from both the government and Josh Duggar's defense team. He is currently on trial, like today on trial for receipt and possession of illegal images of children that I will call either CP or CSAM. I fluctuate between the two because the crime is CP, but the actual images are technically and properly CSAM materials. If you don't understand what they mean, you can ask the chat. We're going to try to stay mildly monetized this evening, but you never know what's going to happen. And in that trial, there were prior allegations that were leaked that came out from a public information records request where there were juvenile records of a hands-on inappropriate child, multiple children things, illegal things. With that, there were pretrial motions. The government was seeking to admit that information for limited purposes because it's proper in this kind of trial to use propensity evidence. The defense was trying to block that information from coming in. Images are one thing, hands-on illegal acts against children are another thing. And preventing the jury from hearing that seemed to be the defendant's primary goal in their motions. So with that primary goal in their motions, the motion was heard for argument. The court wanted more information from the witnesses that would testify about this. The court needed to determine that there was not just a police report, but it's more likely than not that these acts happened before you can just let a jury hear them. It's got to be evidentiarily proper. So in that, the court held a second hearing and witness testimony was elicited from Josh Duggar's dad, Jim Bob Duggar, and from another member of their church, Bobby, spelled Bobye. It hurts my head, but if you see it in my stuff, it is not a typo. That's what it's in the court documents. Bobby Holt, a female member of the church, family friends of the Duggars. Her daughter was dating Josh Duggar when he admitted to these things. They then had him living at their house. I'm trying not to judge the choices that people make. It just seems like an odd decision to me. And he then shared that there were other things. Thank you in the chat for defining CSAM. Cynthia Lee, you are correct. M is material. So thank you everyone in the chat for helping us explain and also keep it from being just complete trauma dumping of all of the horrific shit. Like, just take a moment to feel for these jurors. They are doing their jury duty. They are trying to render a verdict in this, and they are going to have to see these things. It just these cases when they go to trial are so hard for jurors because they have to be involved in seeing what this is, because they have to find beyond a reasonable doubt that not only is the thing, but that the thing was done by the person. So there are multiple evidentiary hearings. Jim Bob Duggar testified, Bobby Holt testified, and the court then asked for additional briefing. This is where the lawyers work way too much. This is then the additional briefing on the clergy privilege. Can Bobby testify, or can Josh Duggar assert the privilege that when he had that conversation, it was a priest penitent conversation, as the case law calls it, and therefore he can assert the privilege to block that person from talking, just like he could assert that privilege to block a prior lawyer. This is a hypothetical. Had Josh Duggar hired another lawyer, a first lawyer, and said to first lawyer, so I did all these things and I possessed these things. This is everything. I'm telling you the entire truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. You can see it on my devices, all of the truth. And then that lawyer's like, yeah, what I'm not going to do is defend you in this case. I can refer you to somebody else. Thanks. Bye. The government can't call that lawyer that doesn't represent him and ask about that conversation. It is under attorney-client privilege, and Josh Duggar can go, you can't do that. I told you that in confidence. You're a lawyer. What you can't do is come in here and tell me those things. So this is the similar kind of privilege where the person who holds the privilege, the defendant, can assert it to block like sink someone else's battleship to block them from testifying. Let's get into what the court said about this motion. I'm going to try to limit the details. The details are in here. I know that there are lots that follow the Duggars closely. I have been graciously referred to the Duggar Snark subreddit quite a lot. There is a wealth of information there if you want to follow everything that goes on and all of the history and all of the moving pieces. I follow the court documents. I am not an investigative reporter by any means, so I have enough awareness of the limited history for context. But for me, I had seen vague allegations about the hands-on with younger children while he was also a minor, and did not know the details of that. The details are the details are out. The details are fucking horrific. The details are crimes. So that said, I've given all of the warnings. I've given all of the warning. There will be timestamps down below. I will probably be about 15-ish more minutes. If you want to pop back in after Duggar, you are welcome to. I totally get it. We're going to just get into this motion. I'm not going to read everything out loud. This is the court's motion filed in federal court. So let us begin. Opinion and order. I love the way this judge writes. The lawyering in this case has been really good, even though I don't, I obviously am more empathetic to the prosecution here. I'm not always more empathetic to the prosecution, but the evidence presented that I have seen at not just the detention hearing, which I have a video on this channel, and others, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. Defendant was indicted on April 28th, 2021 on one count of receipt of the CP and one count of possession of the CP, and a forfeiture allegation, which is like, hey, we get to keep all the shit that you had the CP on and forfeit it and then sell it to pay back the government for prosecuting you. On November 3rd, 2021, the government filed a notice pursuant to Federal Rule of Evidence 414 and a motion in limine to admit evidence of the defendant's prior child molestation conduct. In that motion, the government advises that it intends to seek that evidence of those things happening and prove that those things happened, because if introduced, the government anticipates that the evidence will consist of testimony that the defendant was investigated for, admitted to, and received counseling for the touching and illegal acts with multiple minor females, including at least one instance involving all of the things with a prepubescent minor. The notice of motion goes on to explain the reasons why the government believes this evidence should be presented at trial. On November 3rd, defendant filed a response to the opposition. On November 18th, the court held a hearing on both motions in limine. When the court pressed the government to describe the witness testimony it intended to present to establish defendant's prior acts, the government explained that it planned to call two witnesses, but only one of them was under subpoena. The other witness had not yet been located and served. I wonder which was which. Did they serve Jim Bob first or Bobby? I imagine they served Jim Bob first. That's my guess. Because it was not entirely clear what the two witnesses would say under oath, the court set a follow-up hearing for November 29th to preview Rule 414 evidence and make finding as to its admissibility. This is completely proper of the court to do. This is the type of evidence that you can't unring. You have to make sure that this evidence can be admitted, is truthful, and is otherwise admissible. If you don't, just even alluding to this in front of a jury can cause a mistrial. And what they don't want to do is cause a mistrial and have Duggar be like, oh, well, peace out, homies. You mistrialed this bitch and I'm free. And you can't retry me for it because double jeopardy applies. Deuces, bitches. This is an area where the prosecution has to, dot every I and cross every T. It matters very much. Now the evidence has been received by the court. It is prepared to rule on the pending motions for the reasons detailed. The government's motion in limine is granted, which means this evidence will come before the jury. The defendant's motion in limine was denied, which means they did not get to block this evidence. The jury will hear this. And we know from the witness list being read in court during jury selection that there are witnesses that will go to this evidence. Defendants contends that the government's notice was insufficient. The court's like, negative, ghostwriter. The pattern is full. The government met their notice obligation. They told you they were seeking it. They told you what they were seeking and why and how it was going to come out. Notice isn't an issue here. That's really not what we're here to talk about too much. We're here to talk about this testimony. Evidence of defendants' past acts of hands-on illegal stuff. Bobby Holt's testimony, clergy privilege. During the November 29th hearing, the first witness called by the government was Bobby Holt. Ms. Holt and her husband, Jim Holt, were, interesting that they say were longstanding family friends of the Duggars. Mr. Holt was Jim Bob Duggar's closest childhood friend, and the families anticipated that the defendant, the Duggars' eldest child, would marry the Holt's eldest child one day. Does that sound like an arranged marriage? Is it me? Chat, let me know your thoughts. Leave it in the comments. It sounds like they were like, let us decide that our children will just be married. It's going to be great. It's just going to be great. We'll just do that. Both the Duggars and the Holts attended the same non-denominational Christian church, and the two families socialized with one another on a daily basis for many years. Interesting that it said were. Was it this that did it? Was it this? Before Ms. Holt testified, defendant objected that her testimony should be shielded from disclosure by the common law clergy privilege, called by some cases priest penitent privilege. After some discussion with counsel, the court permitted Holt to testify. Remember, this is outside of a jury. This is just in front of those present in court and Duggar and the lawyers. This is not something the jury heard. The court heard it to decide if the jury could hear it. After some discussion, they decided to permit Holt to testify. The parties were also asked to brief the matter, and both briefs were submitted yesterday. We covered those on Tuesday, and that video is up on the channel. I have a Duggar playlist? Maybe. If I do, it's on there. Memory problems. For the reasons explained in greater detail here, the court overrules defendant's objections and finds clergy privilege inapplicable to Ms. Holt. You see where this is going. I'm not going to get into the Supreme Court's ruling on it. I'm not going to get into the history of clergy privilege. We got that history from both of the motions from the council. The court reiterates that privilege here. And then they go on to say, according to the Third Circuit, the clergy privilege under federal common law protects, quote, communications made, 1, to a clergy person, 2, in his or her spiritual capacity, 3, with a reasonable expectation of confidentiality. That is what they are looking for. That is the test. 1, 2, 3. All like, will my law students and paralegals and lawyers all stand up? That's the test. Is it 1, 2, 3? The third court went on to define clergy person as minister, priest, rabbi, or other similar functionary of a religious organization or an individual reasonably believed so to be. Please, appellate courts, when you write, make it clear so that when we have to quote it for fucking ever forward, it's easier to say. Believed so to be by the person consulting him. This definition mirrors Arkansas law. The threshold issue in the inset case is whether Holt qualifies as a clergy person. It's clear from her testimony, which the court found very credible, that she was not a clergy person at the time the defendant made certain disclosures to her about hands-on illegal shit with kids. The following colloquy between the government counsel and Ms. Holt is compelling. So the court said, this is a credible witness. The testimony was compelling. This is who I believe. You do not pass. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Question, this would be from the government attorney. Whenever you attended church with the Duggars, did you ever hold a position of authority within the church? Answer, no, ma'am. Question, were you ever a pastor of the church? Answer, no, ma'am. Question, were you ever an elder of the church? Answer, no, ma'am. Question, were you ever in any sort of church council? Answer, no. Question, did you hold any sort of role besides parishioner within the church? Answer, no. And what we know about this church, well, we'll just get it. I was going to sidebar and then I won't. I've reined myself in. Just keep reading, Emily. Just keep reading. The government's counsel then asked Holt why she never held a leadership position in her church, given her longstanding membership. And she explained, quote, women weren't asked to be elders or pastors in our church. I don't know if weren't means that has changed, or if weren't means that they are no longer within this particular denomination. I am curious as to how weren't is meant. In response, defendant suggests that Holt should be considered a clergy person because her husband was. Because don't you know, women are just shells and mirrors of their spouses, said with disdain and sarcasm. So because her husband was an elder or spiritual leader, she is just naturally an elder or spirit leader because that works best for the defense position. Because at the time she accompanied her husband on joint counseling sessions. The court rejects this contention, finding no credible evidence that Miss Holt held a position in the church analogous to that of a priest, minister, or rabbi. Footnote 2. Hold on, we're gonna footnote. Jim Bob Duggar testified clearly that there were only 3 leaders of their church in 2002 and 2003, himself, Mr. Holt, and another man named Clark Wilson. Later in his testimony, Mr. Duggar claimed that his wife and Miss Holt could be thought of as joint elders of the church simply because they were married to elders of the church. Of course, your marriage is the thing that defines you, and you have no identity outside of what your husband does. And would, quote, help with special things. Yes, minding the women folk and the children. The court rejects this testimony as self-serving, contradictory, and lacking in credibility. The church would like you to kindly go fuck yourself with your testimony. That is hyperbole and speculation. But also, if that footnote's not court speak for go fuck yourself, I don't know what is. Wait, no, the court that dismissed the Triller case against all of the joint defendants also had a pretty strong, like, judicial go pound sand. That was footnote 2. Okay, we'll get to sassy footnote 3 soon. I love a judicial sassy footnote. It's very extra. To state the obvious, conversations between 2 church members are not shielded from discovery by the clergy privilege, even if those conversations involve serious subjects, and are punctuated by prayer. The acts of hands-on illegal shit against children. They are finding that the defendant had 2 conversations with Bobby Holt where he told her that he did those things. The first conversation took place on March 30th, 2003. Defendant's father, Jim Bob, called her and her husband to the Duggar residence. When they arrived, they were greeted by Jim Bob, Michelle, and defendant. Holt testified the reason she and her husband were called to the house was that they had to discuss something related to the courtship between defendant and Holt's eldest daughter, 3. Defendant's claims through his father's testimony that the Holts were not called to the Duggar home that day to discuss the courtship. Instead, they were called so that Mr. Holt, a church leader, could offer spiritual guidance to defendant and his parents. Under that theory, the communication would potentially fall under clergy privilege, except for the fact that Miss Holt was also present and she does not qualify as, quote, clergy. To surmount that obstacle, defendant maintains, again, based solely on his father's testimony, that Miss Holt was a necessary third party to the conversation. But given that Mr. Duggar's testimony as to Miss Holt's role in the church was not credible, this entire argument is unavailing. Jim Bob, I don't believe you. Your testimony was self-serving. No. When they arrived at the Duggar home, they were escorted to Mr. and Mrs. Duggar's bedroom. Watch the video on Tuesday if you want to know how I feel about that. And the defendant revealed to the Holts that he inappropriately touched a child that day. Identified during the hearing as Jane Doe 4. All the Jane Does will be listed as Jane Doe 4s for everyone, including the jury, to protect their identities as is right, moral, and proper. Defendant acknowledged, and legally proper, like morally for me and legally. Defendant acknowledged that he touched this child while she was sitting in his lap during Bible time, and he used his fingers to contact the down below. He also confessed that he had touched the breasts and lower areas of 3 other child victims on multiple occasions. Jane Does 1, 2, and 3. We're not going to get into the rest of the details there. According to Holt, Duggar indicated that defendant's revelations that day would likely mean the end of the courtship between defendant and the Holt's daughter. You think? I mean, that's putting it so mildly. Indeed, Holt testified that her daughter and defendant ended their relationship that day. One would think, Isabel Flores, that is not lost on me at all in all of this. Ms. Holt also testified to a second conversation which took place at the Holt's home in Little Rock sometime between January and March of 2005. Even though defendant and the Holt's daughter had formally terminated their dating relationship, Holt testified the two families still loved one another and held out hope that the relationship between the teenagers might yet be salvaged. To that end, the Holts invited the defendant to live with them for a brief time in Little Rock so that they would have time to talk with him and get to know him better. Ms. Holt testified that one evening, defendant entered her bedroom to talk with her and Mr. Holt. I have thoughts. I talked about it Tuesday. We're just going to keep moving or I will derail forever. Sometime during the conversation, Mr. Holt fell asleep. He just crawled into bed. He was just like, we chilling the most. You're talking about the things. You're here to court my daughter. Maybe have some. Nope. We're not going there. You're here to court my daughter after we know these things about you. He confessed to Ms. Holt that he had not told her the complete truth about past incidents of hands-on illegal shit with children. Specifically, he told about the March 30th, 2003 Bible time incident, that he did more illegal things that constitute a digital hard R word. That. Based on Holt's credible testimony. How many times did the court say credible as to Holt and not credible as to Jim Bob Duggar? I feel like it's a lot. The court finds by a preponderance of the evidence, which is a standard lower than reasonable doubt, that defendant committed the previous acts as defined by Rule 414. So what the defense and Jim Bob Duggar have done by bringing this motion, which they had to bring, they had to try to block this evidence. But what they have done is there is now a court order from a judge that says that he finds by a preponderance of the evidence, a lower standard again than beyond a reasonable doubt, a lower standard than a criminal conviction, a lower standard than some civil convictions. But he finds by a preponderance of the evidence that defendant did the things. So that's on record. That is on public record. There is no end routing around this. The court is like, no, by a preponderance of the evidence, this happened. So if the media calls Josh Duggar a child molester, they're not going to be sued for defamation because the court has said that he did the things. Jim Bob Duggar, let's get to Jim Bob Duggar. Jim Bob, let's have a conversation about your testimony, big guy. Defendant's father, Jim Bob, testified at the hearing and largely corroborated the testimony of Ms. Holt, largely. For example, he agreed that defendant inappropriately touched at least 4 children, but he was hazy on the details. He recalled the defendant inappropriately touched the children on their breasts while they were sleeping on one or more occasions, but beyond that, his memory failed him. In other words, he admitted the touching was inappropriate, but was unwilling to provide further details, pleading a lack of memory. The court found Mr. Duggar's selective lapse in memory to be not credible. He was obviously reluctant to testify against his son. That is fair. In any event, his testimony is not necessary for the government to introduce Rule 414 evidence at trial. Ms. Holt's testimony is sufficient. And then they go through the balancing test of probative versus prejudicial. Probative versus prejudicial is whether or not the jury can hear it. And there are specific rules of evidence in cases like this and other cases of sexual assault where prior bad acts are allowed to be used and are allowed to be used to help the jury decide if this thing is more likely to have happened because of that thing. Normally, you can't say, well, this person's stolen cars before, so therefore he stole this car. But when it comes to particular categories of cases, there are rules of evidence that allow for this. This is one of those cases. This is allowed in. The jury is going to hear this. If Josh Duggar is not convicted, I will be shocked. I will be shocked. I'm going to keep an eye on what happens in court. I'm going to keep an eye on the witnesses that are called. We're going to just go through real briefly the witnesses that have been called because there are minute orders every day from the court that shows us what's going on. And I think that that's super helpful because yes, there are reports coming out from the Sun. The Sun is they have somebody there. They've been running it down. So I know there's a lawyer on TikTok that's also present there that's been giving rundowns. So there is good and credible and true and facts not fuckery information out there. I will find that TikTok account and link it below. And then the sun is the sun. Minutes of day 3. Oh, should we do day 2 first? Let's do day 2 first. That just keep it in time. All right. Court convenes with jury at 9:06. Rule invoked. Preliminary instructions from the jury to the court, to the jury from the court, so that he read them the jury instructions about what it means to be on a jury and how to listen to evidence and not make up your mind till the end and all that. Alternate juror 38 released. Testimony begins on behalf of the government. Government witness 1, Detective Amber Palmer, Little Rock PD. This is the detective that got the original hit off of the IP. 12:04 lunch. Reconvene without, not the IP. Yeah, the IP got the initial hit of the CSAM going through the wires. Reconvene without jury, which would have been hearings in the court and the lawyers' stuff. Jury returned to courtroom. Government witness number 2, Special Agent Gerald Faulkner. He was the main agent from Homeland Security. He testified for hours, it felt like, at the detention hearing. This is exhibit number 1, transcript, Josh Duggar interview, 11/8/19. Stipulation regarding government exhibit 23 read by the court to the jury. Recess instruction to the jury: don't talk about this case. Don't form any opinions. Don't talk to anyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow at this time. Jury released. Day 3, which was, what day is it today? Hey, that's today. Today the 2nd. Great. And I'll share these on social tomorrow and in the days to come if anybody wants them. If that's helpful to you, let me know. I can share them on Instagram and on Twitter so you guys can see. But they're also being broken down by the people that are present in court watching. 8:29, court convenes without jury. So the lawyers talk about the things. Exhibit 2, complete transcript, Duggar interview. Government witness 2, Special Agent Faulkner, continued. Government witness 3, Matthew Waller. This is somebody who had worked at the car lot. This is a very interesting witness. Quite a lot came out. The Sun had a good rundown of what Waller testified to. It seemed that there was some back and forth where the defense it was alluded to that the defense told Waller what the password was for the partition on the computer. That was what was alluded to by the government. The jury will decide what they believe. Because when Waller talked to the government, Waller didn't tell the government that he knew the password to the partition on the computer in the office. The Covenant Eyes representative was there. All of you that have been following this case know what that's about. And then government witness 5, Special Agent Jeffrey Pryor, Homeland Security. They moved through these witnesses really quickly because they would have convened probably around 9 a.m. So that's 9 to noon. So they really did go pretty fast. 1:15 after lunch, they reconvene. Government witness 6, Marshall Kennedy, Homeland Security. Government witness 7, Fortall, Director of HTIU. Recess instruction to jury: don't talk about this. We'll see you back tomorrow. And court adjourned at 5:07. They are clipping right along with these witnesses, and they are hitting all of the foundational evidence and all of the evidence with regard to the investigation. This is how we did it. This is what we found. This is how we tie it together. Laying all that foundation. I imagine that I know that in the opening statements, they showed a number of the images. The jury is going to have to see more of the images, and they will be shown that. The individuals in the courtroom can choose to stay or leave. I know some have chosen to leave, but they are going to see what the jury sees, or can see what the jury sees if they're present in court. Always my advice: I wouldn't go looking for that shit at all. Sure wouldn't. So if you guys are curious about more on that case, I will get back to it during questions, and you can watch. I've got, I think, a playlist regarding the Duggar case with all the other stuff when we go over, especially the video where I go over the evidence that came out at the detention hearing. That gives you a real good summary of what people talked about. So let's get up to some Triller fuckery. Are we ready? I feel like I need to be Bruce Buffer for this. Are you ready? I also don't want to be too loud for those of you wearing headphones. Sorry. Apologies. I'm not trying to hurt your ears. I think we will do the Kavanaugh lawsuit first, because honestly, it's what I want to see too. I haven't read it all yet. I've skimmed it, much like a quick read the night before an assignment's due, and it's 41 pages long. And then we can summarize the other. And This shit's flipped. Let's just, foot soldiers, go ahead and drop it down below. If this is your first live stream, consider subscribing. If not, the content's here for free. You're welcome to be like, I'm a little offended. No, if you're foot soldiers, you're definitely not offended by the things that come out of my mouth. You can handle what we're about to say. What are these cats doing? I can barely see. They are a full kitten cuddle back there. They are the palate cleanser we all need. When I shifted my camera a little bit, I was like, oh, the cats are like, you can see them better. And it's just, I love seeing you guys be like family. It's good. All right, foot soldier family. I know Ethan said he doesn't feel supported in this lawsuit. Let's go over this lawsuit and see what fuckery is afoot here, shall we? Look, I go through my legal assessments, but also I think personally suing someone after your company that you are a part owner in has sued them in 2 different courts is just next level fuckery. That's my personal opinion, but we're still going to evaluate the merits of the case. If I think the case is good, I'll tell you. If I think the case is shit, I will also tell you. If I think the case is better than the other Triller cases filed by Novian and Novian, I will also tell you. They have brought in notable other counsel from Claire Locke LLP, which I am sure has gotten very, very expensive. And these are well-known and well-respected defamation lawyers. What I will say is the lawyers, especially civil lawyers, if they feel like there is a case, they can take a case and they'll be like, yeah, you want to pay me for a case, we'll do it. It doesn't always necessarily speak to the strength of the case. So I wouldn't be swayed by fancy lawyers. Just my little caveat. Also, I wouldn't be swayed by terrible lawyers. We will make fun of, but it doesn't mean they always lose. Preliminary statement. 2 causes of action: defamation and defamation by implication. No, that's not like confession by projection. That's defamation by implication. We're going to talk about how that works. Maybe. We're going to try. Preliminary statement. Defendant Ethan Klein is a social media celebrity. Wait, no, that's not the one I meant. I meant this one. Social media celebrity. You get it. Who hosts YouTube podcast published by defendant TED Entertainment. Yes, they apparently get 5% as a fee to produce those podcasts because they are the producers of the podcast, in which he crudely mocks popular internet trends and social media personalities. We have no offense with being crude, but we get it. We get it. In June 2021, Klein turned his wrath toward plaintiff Ryan Kavanagh, a film and television producer, entertainment executive, and entrepreneur whose shit is sometimes flipped, allegedly. Here's the thing. Lawsuits, for those of you new to my content, the law nerds will say it with me. Lawsuits are allegations and shade. You can file a lawsuit. It doesn't mean the shit in your lawsuit is true. The reason that I like covering defamation suits, particularly with YouTube, is you can decide for yourself. They are probably going to link the things that they think are defamatory, and you can go watch the shit that was said. There's no speculation there. Go watch it and decide. So that is what I always say. But when you're covering things on video and it's on video, you can watch the video and be like, oh, it's on video. What do I think? So you get like to choose your own adventure lawsuit edition. I wish in law school we had this. What we had in law school was like Janet Jackson's boob. And that was like a whole thing. What we didn't have was YouTube drama. God, it would be so fun to do this now. If you see me with my purple hair teaching law school in 5 years, this is the shit we're going to talk about all the time. It's like law and YouTube. Just wait. There will be a book. I'll be a contributor. Call me. Since that time, Klein has launched an enduring campaign. Off the bat, though, the writing's better than the Triller lawsuits, and I appreciate it. Klein has launched an enduring campaign to harass and defame Mr. Kavanaugh in retaliation for a copyright infringement lawsuit that Triller Fight Club 2 LLC filed against Klein in May 2021. Look, they didn't just file one. They filed one. That Triller filed a suit. It got dismissed because of misjoinder. They filed another suit. They filed it under their own wrong company name. So they had to amend it. We're on like the sack for that complaint. And then they filed another complaint against him in California. So I think we're downplaying the amount of litigation, but the plaintiff gets to paint the picture. You all have seen it in all of the lawsuits we've covered. And I always say, kind of reserve your judgment. The plaintiff gets to paint their picture. And we saw that a year ago with the Toddy lawsuit. This is a lawsuit because of the defendant's greed. This is the way you paint it in the light most favorable to you. Allegations and shade. I feel like it's cocktails and dreams for the modern era. For a copyright infringement lawsuit that Triller Fight Club 2 LLC filed against Klein in May 2021, which Klein believes Kavanaugh to be financing, and for Klein's own financial gain. The enduring campaign to harass is for Klein's financial gain. Okay. As part of this attack on Mr. Kavanaugh, Klein has used his YouTube podcast and other social media platforms to circulate a baseless claim from an aggrieved former business partner that Kavanaugh once ran a Ponzi scheme. I think he said he was accused of running a Ponzi scheme, but we'll get into it. This false and defamatory claim was published in a Variety article in 2019. But the article was corrected and the claim retracted within hours. Klein knew the claim had been retracted by the business partner and the article corrected by Variety at the time he repeated it. Nonetheless, he passed off the lies about Mr. Kavanaugh as being endorsed by both. Was it endorsed by or alleged by? For months, Klein has repeated and republished this false accusation to his millions of followers and a global internet audience. There we go, just like Hulu, a global internet audience. It all ties back. In republishing this outlandish allegation, are we so mad? I wonder if they threaten Variety. Excuse me. That was cute. That was special. We're now choking on the words in this lawsuit. Good. That's good. I now have new toys, and I can also now give, I need some more sound effects, but we're working on it. So RIP my voice. In republishing this outlandish allegation, Klein acted with actual malice and reckless disregard for the truth. Look, they're outlining the elements of defamation. I'm guessing Novian and Novian didn't write this one all on their own. There's dates of the alleged incidents. He knew that his statements about Kavanaugh were lies because, one, Variety corrected the original story just hours after it was published to unambiguously retract the false allegation that Kavanaugh was accused of running a Ponzi scheme, and two, one of Mr. Kavanaugh's attorneys sent a letter to Klein in July 2021 notifying Klein that the accusation is false, and Variety and Mr. Kavanaugh's ex-business partner had unambiguously disavowed it. But does that mean that the accusation hadn't been made? Despite knowing that his statements are untrue, Klein has refused to retract or correct his highly damaging statements. I want to know what the damages are. I hope we get to that. Like, what damage has happened? Like, what damage has happened to Kavanaugh's reputation? I'm wrapped with curiosity. In fact, after being put on notice, which would be the lawyer letter of like, hey, by the way, this shit's false, stop saying it, Klein doubled down and continued to repeat and republish his lies on his podcast, as well as on other social media websites, including Twitter and the Gram. They said Instagram, sometimes we add color commentary, like in sports ball. Klein's false and defamatory statements about Kavanaugh remain available online and most likely always will, like the Variety article. It's so weird that the internet's like forever and shit. Klein has compounded the damage he has already done to Kavanaugh's reputation Tell me what the damage is. By encouraging his millions of online followers to further disseminate his defamatory claims on Twitter, Reddit, and elsewhere online. Oh, Reddit. Hello, Reddit. They're still big mad at you, Reddit. Klein has used and continues to use, I'm going to drink every time they say foot soldier in this. I'm hoping it comes up. Klein has used and continues to use his celebrity status and social media influence to propagate highly damaging accusations about Mr. Kavanaugh, which Klein knew to be false. This is like literally summarizing what a defamation claim is. To fuel his personal vendetta against Mr. Kavanaugh and for his own financial gain. When does it say that he's going to war? I'm waiting for that. Where does it say that? It's got to happen. As a result, Kavanaugh has been forced to bring this lawsuit to remedy as best he can the irreparable harm done to his reputation. I need to know the harm. And bring an end to Klein's unrelenting campaign of baseless accusations. I'm going to take just a minute because I have previewed this, but not too much. I just want to make sure they don't list. They list Kavanaugh's resume. I just want to make sure they don't list where people live, because sometimes they will list people's home addresses. And I appreciate that they don't. They list a business address, which I will not scroll past that part, just for the sake of privacy, even though it's public record. So that's not a lawyer's business address that you can find on their website. Okay. Let's go through Kavanaugh's resume in the parties section. Plaintiff Ryan Kavanagh is a citizen of the state of California who resides and is domiciled in LA County. Mr. Kavanaugh is a film and television producer, though I think that the company that he worked for is the company that's also being sued in a whole like law nerd 1 degree of separation to SALT. I believe that there is a lawsuit going on with Terrence Howard and Kavanaugh's media studio over the film where Terrence Howard says that they didn't have alleges lawsuit, that they didn't have the likeness rights to release the film. So there's that too. I have to look. We have to go back to that. We covered it when the press release came out, but I haven't circled back. We'll have to just circle back. Mr. Kavanagh is a film and television producer, entertainment executive, entrepreneur whose media studio, Proxima Media, owns a majority interest in Triller Inc. See, owner, a social media and entertainment company that operates a video sharing application and social network platform, Triller, which sometimes is inverted, but not often. It was only inverted that one time, and it was brief. It was so awkward, but it was brief. Triller Inc. is affiliated with the pay-per-view fight streaming service Triller Fight Club 2 LLC. In addition to his film production and entrepreneurial ventures, Mr. Kavanaugh devotes significant time and resources to philanthropy and volunteering. He has received numerous awards and accolades for his philanthropic activities. For example, let's read the resume. In 2010, he was 11 years ago? That's also awkward. He was awarded the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center's Board of Governors Hollywood Humanitarian Award. He received the Sheriff's Youth Foundation Community Champion Award in recognition of his work and dedication to helping inner city youth in Los Angeles. Look, yay, do philanthropic work. You're rich. You seem to be successful based on your own resume. Philanthropic work is great. I don't know if you need to like beat that drum in your lawsuit. But go for it. Maybe I guess to be fair, they are trying to say that he is showing the reputation that may be damaged. I would just expect more recent things if that's the case. But he was recognized for his work helping children victims of abuse and neglect by First Star, a charity dedicated to improving the lives of foster children. But when? Because there's dates on this one and no dates on this one, and no dates on this one. And I wonder if that is intentional. I can't help but think that it is. In 2011, he received a Distinguished Entertainment Industry Award from the Anti-Defamation League. Cool. In recognition of his demonstrated leadership and extraordinary innovation in the entertainment industry. In 2014, he refused, this does not say the Tony Stark Award, but in my brain, he received the Tom Schreck Award presented by the Fulfillment Fund, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping young people in Los Angeles overcome obstacles to receiving college educations. Do you bring down the price of a college education in California? That would be great. That would probably clear up a lot of the obstacles. Kavanaugh has also served as chairman of the board of the Arts of Elysium, an organization that pairs volunteer artists from the entertainment community with communities in Los Angeles to help support medically fragile children, teens, and adults in times of illness and crisis. In addition, Kavanaugh owns Freehand, a pet food company. Well, we like the pet food company. A pet food company committed to using its proceeds to save the lives of homeless dogs by matching each pound of dog food sold with a donation to a local animal shelter or rescue organization. Great! Defendant Ethan Klein is a citizen of the United States. He will get to put his resume in his filing. That's the time to do that. Defendant Klein and his wife Ela Klein run the H3H3 Productions YouTube channel and the H3 Podcast YouTube channel, and Klein produces and stars in videos aired on those channels. Since June 2021, Klein has used, notice there's a resume on one, and there's like, this is why you're slandering us in the other one. Since at least June 2021, Klein has used his YouTube channels and other social media platforms to disseminate knowingly false, defamatory, and highly damaging statements about Mr. Klein, alleging that Mr. Kavanaugh was accused of running a criminal Ponzi scheme and implying that he did, in fact, run a criminal Ponzi scheme. We'll get to those allegations soon, I think. We are going to scroll for a moment to jurisdiction. Everyone's in California. Yay. On to factual allegations. Ryan Kavanagh is a Hollywood producer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. More. There's more resume. Cool. All right. Great. The factual allegations are that Kavanaugh is successful. I want the answer. I'm sure there will be motions before the answer, but the answer would be like, as to allegation 13, we have no knowledge of its veracity. Okay. Ryan Kavanagh has been recognized as a successful film and television producer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. He has produced, distributed, and financed more than 200 films, which have won 8 Oscars, received more than 60 Oscar nominations, and generated more than $17 billion in revenue, which he is currently spending to sue Ethan Klein in multiple venues. No, that's hyperbole. Hyperbole is when you exaggerate things to make them kind of funnier. It's a joke. Currently, Kavanaugh is, among other things, an investor in Triller Inc., among other things. You can just meme it and then add your own lawsuits. No, Emily, no. Nobody wants to meme lawsuits except for you, weirdo. Stop it. Is, among other things, blank, 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 an investor in Triller Inc., which operates the music video platform and social networking application Triller. Triller has more than 26 million active users. I believe that Kevin Hart is one of those active users, or no? I think he wasn't. He was advertised to be, but then he wasn't an active user. Something happened with Kevin Hart. It allows users to create and share videos online when it's not inverted. I know it was just the one time. In February 2021, Triller launched Triller TV. Yay. A live streaming service featuring original 30-minute shows. Wasn't there another application that did that made a bunch of original shows and then died? It had like an I in the name. Quibi, like Quibi? Maybe? Did they buy Quibi? Are they part of Quibi? In February 2021, Triller launched Triller TV, a live streaming service featuring original 30-minute shows hosted by prominent social media personalities, podcasters, musicians, and celebrities, which competes with YouTube. Not if they only host 30-minute shows. And its content creators for views and advertising revenue. Wait a second. It competes with YouTube. Are they trying to allege that like Ethan is somehow bolstering YouTube? Okay, which competes with YouTube and its content creators for views and advertising revenue. Oh, that's what they're going to say goes to damages. Interesting. But Triller's not suing. Sorry, my brain is moving ahead and the rest of us have not moved ahead. I apologize. Triller is also affiliated with Triller Fight Club, an entity that organizes and produces pay-per-view fights. We know some of us have seen those fights.
Ethan Klein is an internet personality who produces and hosts numerous shows and podcasts on YouTube. Defendant Klein is a YouTube content creator who, through his company TEI, operates 2 YouTube channels, H3 Productions and the H3 Podcast. Footnote 1, not sassy, just a link to their channel. To the 2 channels, separated by a comma. I wonder if it only links to one. Don't click the link. We're doing it anyway. Which one does it link to?
Hey,
H3
man,
Productions.
I have no idea what you said about me because
thank you, Keemstar. But it only, can we link to the other one? Nope. The link is flipped. Where's my link? Where's my link? The link has no limit. All right. That's odd. It just like, okay, fine. That link is not happening. So the only link that's working is the H3 Productions. This, whatever this is not working. What we know what the channel is, Emily. Keep moving. Yes, I get curious. Klein's channels are part of the YouTube commentary community. At least somebody's done their research. A subgenre built off of so-called, wait, what do you mean so-called YouTubers? If you're on YouTube, you're a YouTuber. What is this? So-called YouTubers. If you make content on YouTube that gets watched, you are a YouTuber. How many millions of monthly views does the H3 podcast get? I bet it's a fucking lot. So-called YouTubers. Oh, are they shading the rest of the commentary community? Because there are some in the commentary community that need shade. Like, let's be honest. I just don't think that H3, it was like, if you like H3 or not, if you like Keemstar or not, they're not so-called YouTubers. They are in fact YouTubers. Sorry, it's just, I get called a quote lawyer, and I'm like, look, come pay my student loans then, if you want to call me a quote unquote lawyer. I cannot get back the months of my life I studied for the bar. Like, there's no getting that time back. Like, that is deep rooted trauma. So, after 15 years, we still haven't let it go. So-called YouTubers. Ugh. The YouTubers are riled. Making videos criticizing other YouTubers and social media influencers. I mean, I feel like that generally sums up the commentary community. My phone is ringing. Apologies. Defendants produce several semi-regular shows that air and remain permanently available on these YouTube channels, including H3 After Dark. H3 After Dark is a talk radio style program that features Klein, his wife Ela, and several staff members. Oh, they don't even call them cast members. The staff members. Team members? But okay. And several staff members of the show disparaging internet trends and social media personalities. The show is live streamed on the H3 YouTube channel on Friday nights, with the recording available on YouTube thereafter. Okay. Off the Rails. Off the Rails is Klein's solo program, during which he performs pranks and skits and mocks people who have supposedly wronged him. The show ordinarily films on Wednesdays and is posted online Thursdays around 4 p.m. When they say your haters are your biggest fans, they mean it. Y'all are like, Emily, silence your phone. Look, I need to put Khalees's milkshakes back as my ringtone, the way it was when my phone actually used to go off in court when I was a younger DA and would embarrass myself when my phone would go off. I forgot to put it on focus mode. We're good. Apologies. It's been a long day. Families. No. R.I.P. frenemies. You didn't get a shout out in the lawsuit. I love that they know the production schedule. Families is a show hosted by Klein and his mother that replaced Frenemies. Oh, there it is. Emily, you just had to keep reading. Another program that was canceled due to disputes between Klein and his co-host, YouTube personality Trisha Paytas. Trisha Paytas has her own footnote. Trisha Paytas has a footnote. Footnote 2, Lindsay Dodson and Sierra. Hey, Lindsay, what's up? And Serena Bergman
How frenemies, one of YouTube's buzziest podcasts, crashed and burned in less than a week. Insider. Of course, it's from Insider. Well, because Lindsay. June 14th, 2021. Insider.com. Frenemies. Trisha Paytas quit Ethan Klein podcast, stepping down. Uh-oh. Keemstar's Twitter's footnoted. We've gotten a preview of what's to come. I'll link the articles, or I'll just link the lawsuit. Let me know what you prefer. I could always put a link up to the lawsuit so you guys can have it if that's helpful for your educational purposes. Upon information and belief, defendant TEI is the publisher of Klein's podcast. Yes, he takes 5% to do that. We know. As well as his Twitter account, H3H3 Productions. Klein's content is deliberately offensive. I mean, is that a matter of taste? Deliberately offensive, provocative, and inflammatory. Frequently, he mocks and harasses other social media personalities, which you may like or not like. But you have the right to make content. Most people would say that most comedy is offensive, provocative, and inflammatory, and frequently mocks life, society, people, politicians. You're allowed to do that. You are allowed to mock. And mocks and harasses other social media personalities to attract attention and entertain viewers. They've acknowledged entertainment. For example, because you're allowed to entertain, and comedy is a protected form of free speech. What you can't do is make people stop speaking because you're big mad. Whether it's your comedy or not, there is comedy that I fucking hate and find super offensive. You still get to do it. I don't fight with people who come for me on social media because you know what? If it is not defamatory, you can think I'm an asshole. I don't get to control your opinion. It's just, that's how that works. Welcome to the internet and to, free speech. I'm going to keep moving. We're going to take a breath. We're going to take a breath about speaking things. For example, in August 2021, YouTube suspended Klein for 7 days for violating its harassment policy and posting content that degradedly sexualized the 20-year-old girlfriend of another YouTube content creator, Daniel Keem. Well, hello, Keemstar. Welcome to the lawsuit. I have no idea. I remember when Klein's channel got taken down. I don't remember that there was stuff with Keem's 20-year-old girlfriend. I don't remember that that's the reason. Did we know that that was the reason? Has that ever been confirmed that that's the reason? I don't know. Maybe it has been. I just don't remember that part. This occurred during an episode of H3 After Dark in which Klein had someone call into his show pretending to be Keem's girlfriend. Oh, like every radio show you've ever listened to where they pretending to be Keem's girlfriend, who said that Keem cries during sex and has small genitalia. I'm sorry. What does this have to do with the lawsuit? What does this have to do with the lawsuit? You guys are like, it's confirmed. I remember it came down. I just didn't remember that this was the reason. But what does this have to do with Ryan Kavanagh? Like, what does Keem have to do with Ryan Kavanagh? Like, how is any of this, how is the Keem Klein beef relevant to Ryan Kavanagh? Is it because his last name starts with a K and Keem and Klein have a beef and Kavanagh feels left out? He wants to get into like the YouTube clout beef with the three of them because Klein and Keem, though I think they probably genuinely hate each other, their YouTube beef benefits both of their channels from my perspective. As they beef, their channels grow. Does Kavanagh want to be part of the Kavanagh-Klein-Keem beef? Is it like a three-way beef? Can you have a three-way beef? I don't know. It's a lot of K last names. Okay. It just feels like it's not relevant at all. But all right. I mean, maybe they're trying to show the court what kind of person they believe Ethan Klein to be. This occurred during an episode of H3 After Dark. Yes, H3 After Dark would be the place where you make fun of Keem crying during sex and having a small genitalia with somebody who's pretending to be his girlfriend. Okay. All right. All right. It's a lot. Following Klein's suspension, Keem posted a video on Twitter stating, "Justice has been served. He deserves it. It's well overdue. The stuff that is said on that podcast to bully and harass other creators would never fly on anyone else's channel. The show has been harassing so many fucking creators, so many fucking YouTubers." Footnote 3. Oh, we linked the video. Okay. I don't know.
But I'm just not. I'm not happy, right?
Okay.
Justice has been served. 2 videos of Ethan
He knew
Klein
this early on,
and
as I
Triller
remember.
Klein and the H3H3 podcast.
All right, but that's
were taken
Keem's
down for
opinion.
violating terms of service.
Keem's opinion is not the basis of a lawsuit unless Keem is following or filing the lawsuit. If Keem is filing the lawsuit, Keem's opinion matters. But Keem's opinion about Ethan doesn't really matter in Kavanaugh's lawsuit. I am so fucking confused as to why any of this is relevant. But it's clear that they are bringing up stuff from Keem because it came in the other California lawsuit filed by Triller. Unfortunately, Klein's YouTube content reaches millions of viewers, with his 2 YouTube channels enjoying nearly 6.4 million and 3 million subscribers, respectively. Yeah, but it's the monthly views that I want to know about. These viewers are essential for Klein to generate revenue from his podcast because YouTube's partner program allows content creators like Klein to monetize their channels through advertisements. Accurate, that's how that works. Subscriptions and channel memberships, all of which provide compensation for views. Accurate. Triller Fight Club sues Klein for copyright infringement. Oh, good. How accurate? No, not accurate. It will be accurate. How thorough will this breakdown be? The events giving rise to the current dispute began in April 2021 when Klein played clips from an illegally obtained copy of a pay-per-view fight between a boxer and YouTube celebrity Jake Paul, a former fight between boxer. Oh, sorry, they were calling Jake Paul a boxer. My brain glitched. A fight between boxer and YouTube celebrity Jake Paul and former mixed martial arts fighter Ben Askren. Former is accurate. The event was organized and aired by Triller Fight Club. Do you notice that they say illegally obtained copy and not pirated copy? And I think that is an interesting way to do it. Me said, no, 23 million views in the last 30 days. That's a lot of fucking views. No wonder they're mad. They're coming for the views. But the languaging in this is different than the other lawsuits that have been filed. Played clips from an illegally obtained copy of the pay-per-view fight. Interesting that that's a shift in the languaging. During an April 22nd episode of Off the Rails, Klein played the illegally obtained copy of the fight and relentlessly criticized the competing video content, calling it boring and low quality, thereby ensuring that his viewers would also not view the competing content. But what it doesn't mention, it doesn't exactly say when the fight was, though. So it's not readily apparent to the court that this fight took place, days and days after, or this fight took place days and days before the episode of Off the Rails. But they're ensuring his viewers would also not view the competing content. They're not saying pay-per-view content. They're saying competing content, setting up Triller to be a competitor. So now setting up the damages to be like, oh, Klein is competing with Triller and therefore harming it by playing this clip in their podcast. But they don't make it clear that this is well after the sporting event had aired. It was a live sporting event. It was a pay-per-view event. Well, they did say that, but they leave out some of those things that are important that will come up from the defense because that's part of their defense. Plaintiff, light most favorable to them. It is supposed to be biased for them. It is supposed to be a vigorous advocacy for their client. That is the goal. I'm just, it just leaves an impression that it stopped people from going to buy a fight that had already happened, the results of which were known, and it was all over Twitter. Katya said it right. That is particularly disingenuous. Accurate. 5 days after the fight. Accurate. While doing so, Klein admitted that he pirated the fight, stating, "I didn't pay for that shit. I pirated that, the fight, and I still felt robbed." But again, was it sarcasm and hyperbole? Unknown. And if it is, the fight was a $50 fight, would the remedy be $50? We have so many questions. Footnote 4, H3 podcast. Jake Paul fight was a disaster. Did they timestamp it? Let's see if it pulls up at the timestamp or at the beginning of the video. You can link it with a timestamp, y'all. Fingers crossed. Yes!
You know? And
look, man, here's what I'm saying. The lawyering is on a different level. Look, we might not agree with the position of the lawyers, but thank you for making it fucking easy for us. I appreciate it. Can you hear it? Should we just listen?
you know,
I can hear it. Can you
he
hear
just
it?
he didn't even block the punch, and he just the whole thing looks like a comic book. Like, look how he
flipped.
falls to the ground. It's like, and then the ref calls it immediately. I was like, dude, what did I just watch? This is such a fucking clown fest. Look at this. And then he calls it. I was like,
Commentary is allowed to be critical.
no, I seriously did not stay up and waste my whole Saturday night to not even see Jake Paul get hit once.
I watched this fight because I also wanted to see Jake Paul get hit. Jake Paul knows that people watch these fights because people want to see Jake Paul get hit.
I don't know why that ref called it, bro. I know he was dazed. He was fucked. The fight was a joke.
In that moment right there, if you watch it carefully, he tells him to step forward and he staggers to the side.
Critical commentary.
Yeah, I saw.
I mean,
It looked, at first I was like, what was that? Everyone was saying it's staged. I don't think so. I looked at everything from every angle.
Well, he for sure got that. I mean, it can be
Commentary that's critical.
staged with still taking a hit, that it was just planned that he would get punched.
I still think the ref should have let him go. Like, I mean, it's a prize fight, okay? Like, fuck, like, who is this ref? Get a different ref. You just tell him, let the fight go, man. Ben
Fair.
Askren's taking beatings in the MMA, dude. He's not
Fair.
gonna. Jake Paul's not gonna kill Ben Askren. Don't worry about it.
Also fair.
Nah, you're tripping.
It was the worst fight. It was such a waste.
And then
of
Jake
time.
Paul literally fell to the floor in a fetal position, bawling his eyes out.
You're allowed to not like a fight, just like you're allowed to not like a movie. You're allowed to not like a song. You are allowed not to like a sporting event. You're allowed to not like things. It's critical commentary.
Out in happiness.
Yeah, there were some good memes. So like when you knock out a 40-year-old
There were good
out of
memes.
shape wrestler. Although apparently he had a friend who died. I don't know what it was. It was more about
Perhaps.
that. But anyway, here he is. I mean, you know,
He probably watched Rocky IV before the fight.
I mean, everything he does. He's
Commentary. Back to the lawsuit. If we get bored, we're coming back to this. It's commentary. But okay. Notice they're not arguing it's not commentary. What they're arguing in this is that the copy that they watched was illegal. So, all right. Let's see. Subsequently, Triller Fight Club sued Klein, his wife, and their business. Well, both their businesses, because they also tried to sue Teddy Fresh. Okay. The complaint alleges that Klein illegally streamed a bootleg copy of the fight and encouraged his viewers to do the same. The complaint does allege that. Even though Kavanaugh was not a party to Triller Fight Club's lawsuit, Klein disclosed on his podcast that his lawyer told him that, Kavanaugh was financing the Fight Club litigation. And so Klein erroneously associated Kavanaugh with the lawsuit and the competing content. But wait. Kavanaugh is an owner of Triller. So if Triller's, I can see where you can make the association because owner of the company that's suing him. Klein launches an ongoing smear campaign against Mr. Kavanaugh to retaliate for Triller Fight Club's copyright lawsuit. The copyright lawsuit was particularly terrible. I cover all of the iterations of it It is now put over following the LA lawsuit that was after this. So we'll get to the LA lawsuit in a minute, I'm sure. Rather than simply defending against a copyright lawsuit on the merits, which were difficult to ascertain by the filing, the Second Amendment complaint got better, but okay. Klein took to his bully pit. I will say the writing is better. It's clearer, and we know what the fuck they're talking about, which I do appreciate. Took to his bully pit, YouTube and Twitter. Have you ever referred to YouTube and Twitter as a bully pit? Good God. To launch defamatory attacks against Mr. Kavanaugh in an apparent attempt to pressure Triller Fight Club to settle its lawsuit. That's conclusory speculation, but it's your lawsuit. You do you. To exact revenge against Kavanaugh and to boost his viewership by airing grievances online. Well, so-called YouTubers air their grievances online. Have you never watched Trisha Paytas? She's in a footnote. Beginning in June 2021, defendants created and published numerous videos and posts containing defamatory statements concerning Mr. Kavanaugh on Klein's YouTube channels and on social media. I don't think Kavanaugh could hang being a YouTuber. Like, how many videos are we talking? Are we talking like 600, 800? Like, there are whole channels dedicated to hating people. So I don't know how many videos we're talking about. I would love to know. Hopefully they will tell me. Defendants caused those statements to be disseminated to millions of viewers worldwide, and Klein urged his viewers to republish those statements further, which they predictably did. Y'all predictable. When are we going to talk about Reddit? They have not said foot soldiers once in this lawsuit yet. I am getting impatient. In a June 11th, 2021 episode of H3 After Dark titled, "And the Number of Babies Is..." H3 After Dark number 40, footnote 5, which was viewed more than 2.7 million times, defendants published the following false and defamatory statements. At least we're getting to the facts. What are these are the defamatory statements that they are alleging that they are taking umbrance with. According to his ex-partner, he runs a Ponzi scheme. That sounds super illegal and shady. That's not the kind of guy I'd want being involved in my business, like Triller. That's opinion. I don't want that guy involved in my business. No, that's also opinion. So I guess the issue is, according to his ex-partner, he runs a Ponzi scheme, but that's according to his ex-partner. So republishing. Like Triller, going on, Ethan Klein, and according to his ex-partner, he was running a Ponzi scheme. Like, come on, bro. Imagine being Ryan Kavanagh. Podcast employee one, according to LA Magazine. I don't want to be sued too. I'm guessing that's Dan Klein. I'm not saying that. I'm assuming this footnote 5 is a link. At least the links are time stamped. Like, I greatly appreciate
Jay-Z. Can you believe it? Welcome everybody.
Did they timestamp it for the judge? No. Look, lawyers, let's just have a sidebar for a minute. Lawyers, timestamp where the statements are said for everybody's sake. Otherwise, we'll just give more views to the people that you're complaining about because we'll have to watch the whole thing to figure out where the statements are. If you would like us to play along at home, just put in a timestamp of where the alleged arguments are. You've already watched the video. You've already pulled this out. You know where it takes place. You can timestamp it in a link. Just please and thank you. In a July 1st, 2021 episode of Off the Rails titled Trisha's Apology and Ace Family Scam, Off the Rails number 3, footnote 6, probably not timestamped, but we don't know. At least it's linked. Better than some lawsuits I've seen, which was viewed more than 2.4 million times. Klein said, Triller lies about their numbers, so who knows? This is not a Triller suit, so that's not the thing. Okay, the Ponzi scheme is the issue, clearly and continuingly. So who knows? Allegedly, what do I know? I know this guy, Ryan Kavanagh, is a piece of shit. Yeah, you're allowed to say that. which is why they're suing over just the Ponzi scheme stuff. I mean, he's run a Ponzi scheme allegedly from his partner. He's run, so past tense. So of course the guy is capable of lying, as we all are, but he lies allegedly according to his partner. Ponzi scheme, Ryan Kavanagh, owner of Triller, Ryan Kavanagh, look him up, owner of Triller, scammer, allegedly peace and love. According to his partner, this guy's suing me, by the way. What was I talking about? I like the train of thought. Ethan Klein, Ryan Kavanagh. He's the owner of Triller. He was the CEO of like a big, I forgot the name of it, but like they went super bankrupt. He did have a company go bankrupt. And then he got Triller involved and like he was accused of running a Ponzi scheme. Was he accused of running a Ponzi scheme a statement of fact, or was it false? They're saying the statements were retracted. We'll see. I've got to go look at the Variety article. He's got a really dark history. I read all of this online. This is not me saying this, right? Podcast manager. Who was it again that accused him of running a Ponzi scheme? Ethan Klein. It was his ex-partner. The owner, Ryan Kavanagh, is a nasty piece of shit. That's an opinion. His business partner alleged he ran a Ponzi scheme, if you believe that. Again, I don't know if that comment's going to be taken as a statement of fact. Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme. What a shitty dude who runs a one-star app. Wow. Those things probably aren't defamatory. I mean, rude and defamatory are different. Wow, shady as fuck. Are they? I mean, they're highlighting it, and I think the attribution is that these are the statements that we're concerned about. Like these highlighted and italicized statements are the ones that we're complaining of. We know that not everything is defamatory, but shady as fuck in the vernacular. Like, are we going to have to pull out Urban Dictionary and define what shady means? Because are they going to argue that shady means that he is involved in criminal activity, so it's defamation per se? Emily, keep reading the lawsuit. Maybe we know. Wow, shady as fuck. And I heard this guy's looking to go public with Triller. That'd be a horrible idea for people to invest in Triller. He is Ponzi scheme. I first read he ran a Ponzi scheme in Variety by his ex-partner. Okay, but in context, this is saying I read this in Variety. Yeah, here he is, Ryan Kavanagh. Serious guy. He's a film and TV producer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, and Ponzi scheme enthusiast. Will that be considered opinion or hyperbole? Likely. Wait, no, sorry. That was his ex-partner said, no, it's not alleged. His ex-partner did say that. It's his ex-partner alleged that. Well, he made the allegation. He said he was running a Ponzi scheme. So you can't just take the one statement and be like, see, out of context, this one statement. In the entirety of the statement, unless there is stuff edited out between, but if it's your defamation suit, I don't think you would edit the things in the ellipsis out. They're saying this is the concept. This is the content. He said he's a film and TV producer, entrepreneur, Ponzi scheme enthusiast. Wait, no, sorry. That's what his ex-partner said. No, it's not alleged. His ex-partner did say it. Well, he made the allegation, the ex-partner. He said he was running a Ponzi scheme. He was making the allegation, but okay, you get the idea. The suit alleges. That's literally what the Fire Festival guy did. And so I don't know in context what that's talking about. There's no timestamps, and we're not going to go hunt it down tonight. On a July 2nd, 2021 episode of H3 After Dark titled James Charles Returns and Baby Update H3 After Dark 7, which is probably just a link. Yep. Which was viewed about 2 million times, Klein said, who allegedly runs a Ponzi scheme according to his ex-partner. This is all attributing the statement to a publication. They're saying that that's not enough, right? They're saying attribution's not enough because it was retracted. This is Ryan Kavanagh. He's like basically the owner of Triller, and he's been accused of by his partner of running a Ponzi scam, and he bankrupt relativity. Wow. As the glass gets emptier. Relativity. Which is fucking awesome because now he's trying to build Triller and he wants to go public. And it's like, dude, you bankrupted your last company and you've been accused of running a Ponzi scheme. It's awesome. And this is the guy that's suing us. Ryan Kavanagh, the owner of Triller, who his partner says he's like been involved in a Ponzi scheme. This is really getting around at this guy. Ryan Kavanagh was accused of running a Ponzi scheme. It seems like Ryan Kavanagh was a really bad guy. Also, I heard that Ryan Kavanagh was involved in a Ponzi scheme, according to his former business partner. There's the image of Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme. On July 8th, Klein tweeted, "Every time I think of Ryan Kavanagh, I think of his business partner alleging he was involved in a Ponzi scheme." Again, if his business partner alleged that, and they're saying it's retracted, but if his business partner alleged that, that is going to be their defense. But his business partner did allege that. And they're going to say, but it was retracted. But it was alleged, even if it was retracted. Are they saying that it was retracted? So no, we never alleged it. This never happened. Whoopsie. We're going to have to go to the Variety article. Hopefully it'll be linked, but I doubt it. Klein then retweeted his own tweet using the H3 podcast Twitter account. Wait, they said that his company ran that Twitter account, but okay. Which has more than 300,000 followers to further promote his accusations, compounding the harm to Mr. Kavanaugh. Please tell us what the harm is. Let's see the tweet. It's still on the internet somewhere then, because the screenshot came from somewhere. Okay. Ryan Kavanagh, I think I'm joking. It's a joke. Oh, wait, they didn't just put a link. Ooh, we get to the pictures. No. I need to label these better. We get to the pictures. On July 8th, 2021, I didn't know we were going to get to the pictures of the retweet. There it is. But look, whoever formatted this used a drop shadow. Like, okay. This is better than the writing of Novian and Novian. And there's a drop shadow on the image. It kind of pops right off the page. On July 8th, 2021, Klein tweeted, "I don't know if Jake Paul left." We're adding context because of Ryan Kavanagh specifically, but he definitely thought Showtime was a better opportunity than Triller. And I'm not surprised since the owner, Ryan Kavanagh, was accused by his ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme as published by Variety. And there's a footnote that links also to that, but it's also here in an image. We love pictures. In a July 8th episode of Off the Rails titled "The Biggest Scam in YouTube History," Klein said, "Oh, what was the biggest scam in YouTube history? I'm distracted. I want to know now." Klein said, "This is the article that Variety published about Kavanaugh. You can see it says Variety here. It's kind of like there's a timestamp here. It's kind of hard to see, or like, how would you call it? Watermark is right. But anyway, it says Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme. So in open court," and then they talked about something because the rest of the context has dropped off. Because allegedly, if it's true, what his ex-business partner said about him running a Ponzi scheme, it would mean that he was comfortable deceiving people. I mean, if true, that's what they're saying. If true, it means this. Is the ex-business partner going to get to testify? Oh, that will be fascinating. George, chill. Sorry, my cat is like, what? Ryan accused by ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme, right? That was the Variety headline. Ethan Klein. Was that guy a scammer? I think he was just a podcast manager. I think that's Dan. I think Dan is now the podcast manager. Maybe that wasn't a scam. Ethan Klein. Oh, well, maybe closer to I don't know what exactly Ryan Kavanagh did, but he did apparently, according to his ex-business partner, written in Variety of running a Ponzi scheme, right? But if I would say running a Ponzi scheme based on his ex-partner's allegations and open court in Variety, that's off the rails. Klein filmed the July 8th episode, which was viewed more than 1.3 million times, in front of the following background. Oh, we're mad about the background. I get it. Which included a photograph of Kavanaugh with the caption that repeated the false and defamatory Ponzi scheme claim.
published by Variety is the end of that sentence. Klein appears to have altered the font size of the Variety article headline in the image to de-emphasize the words accused by ex-business partner of. Are they saying he altered the photo and it wasn't just a screenshot? Oh, maybe. Is this the screenshot they're saying that was altered, or are there two? Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme. Because they are. This one is different than that one. That yes, it looks different. But it does say accused by ex-business partner of. Defendants used the same altered picture as the background for several subsequent podcast episodes, including the biggest scam in YouTube history, Off the Rails #4. Is this two background? Oh, I'm sorry, Ela, Off the Rails #5. Ryan, your celeb lookalike is. Oh, and this is this their app review of Triller? Saying goodbye to YouTube Off the Rails. I'm ashamed to admit this, Off the Rails. I'm done with Trisha Paytas, Off the Rails. Mr. Verified contest, Off the Rails. What's it like to be verified? I have questions. Things have been added to the background, but we're only attacking this one. Finally releasing the DMs, Off the Rails. The hardest episode I've ever had to make, Off the Rails. We play Silent Library, Off the Rails. Kim Kardashian threatened me, Off the Rails. I've not seen Kim Kardashian threaten me. I've got questions. Ethan guesses who's high. We broke up. This is why this lawsuit's 40 pages long. I had to get emergency surgery, Off the Rails. I got hand enlargement surgery, Off the Rails. You know, I will say that I just wonder, they didn't do Ethan totally dirty in these screenshots. Like, they actually did. The screenshots are hard when you talk a lot. These screenshots aren't terrible. In all fairness, I mean, I think a YouTube thumbnail would do people dirtier. Who picked the screenshots, and are they an H3 fan? I want to know. I have questions, because the screenshots aren't, I mean, they're not horrible. At all. So, on July 11th, 2021, Klein posted an Instagram story purporting to depict the Variety article beneath the headline, "Do you guys know that Ryan Kavanagh was accused by ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme?" Is there a picture? Damn it. You guys are like the Drop Shadow show that they're H3 fans. Look, I'm an alleged YouTuber. So-called YouTuber. I was just curious. In a July 15th, 2021 episode of Off the Rails titled "I'm Sorry, Ela," Off the Rails 25 or 5 footnote 25, which has more than 1.9 which was viewed more than 1.9 million times. I want to say 1.9 million views, just vernacular. Klein said, "Welcome back, everybody, to the Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme podcast." You guys are saying there's a typo on one of the dates. I mean, fair. Oh, November 18th, 2011. Yep. Somebody got a typo. I mean, I will say, A, I didn't notice it, but B, look, whatever, we will get to what we think of it. I want to see how they tie all these facts into the allegations, but it's written much cleaner than the last lawsuits, making it much easier to read, which I appreciate. And there's pictures. And I don't have to pay for the defense. So we can be entertained. For Ethan, it's not entertaining. It's like, are you fucking joking me? Welcome back to the Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-partner of running a Ponzi scheme podcast. Ryan, this one from the Variety article over here in the accused by ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme, which we've now clarified was under oath. I wonder if it was a certified complaint. Fun fact, the Variety article does have the lawsuit in it.
Well, I posted an article on Twitter as I get distracted by the chat, me always. I posted on Twitter the article that recapped, let me see if I can find it real quick, that recapped all of this that was really, really well done by, I believe, the Hollywood Reporter. Let me just go to I don't tweet so much that it's buried because it was just a day or so ago. It was a great article. And I think Ethan went through it on the podcast as well. Why am I not seeing it? Was it a retweet? It's here somewhere. From Eric Gardner, from the Hollywood Reporter. So that's on my Twitter as well. If you guys are interested in that, let me pull up that link so I can just share it. But it was a really well done article that kind of went through the rabbit hole of the filed, not filed, things that can happen in the YouTube world. And I think it was a really well done article. And I do think Ethan went through it. So let us go back. All right, where are we? Let's see. On July 29th, the episode of the H3 After Dark titled Hila is back and she's being sued. Hila's back and she's being sued. Dun, 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 dun. Which was viewed more than 1.6 million times, featuring the follow exchange. Hila Klein, you may have heard of Ryan, Ethan Klein, and his bankruptcy, Hila Klein, and he doesn't always pay people. Well, he is facing a lawsuit for not paying his nanny in LA Superior Court. It's alleged. Ethan Klein, there's like 1,000 debtors from the bankruptcy. I haven't looked at the bankruptcy. Don't make me go down another bankruptcy rabbit hole, but I might. I don't know if you heard, but Ryan Kavanagh, this man here, was accused by his ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme, podcast manager. That was reported by Variety. Thank you, Dan, for just like rounding it out. During this exchange, a producer held up the photo in the background. We see. For months. Wait, there's a shirt? Oh, I didn't know there was a shirt. It's such a like mischief move to make a shirt. How long have we? Oh, it's been 2 hours. Y'all, me. I'm going to be short. Also me. I poured a lot of whiskey. Also me. It's a 40-page lawsuit with a drop shadow and photos. We just have to keep going. For months, defendants have repeatedly and relentlessly attacked and continue to attack Mr. Kavanaugh in a variety of ways, or in variety. Maybe they typed variety so much they thought they were talking about the title of the magazine and didn't realize they were talking about in a variety of ways, but okay. Mr. Kavanaugh in a variety of ways, but specifically by republishing the defamatory and highly damaging accusation. Republishing is the thing, though. If it's defamatory and it was published by Variety, are you not suing Variety? This is a question. Are you not suing Variety because you perceive that they have more money because you don't understand YouTube and how much money YouTubers make? Is that what? All right. By republishing the defamatory and highly damaging accusation, which they knew to be false, that Mr. Kavanaugh was accused of running a criminal Ponzi scheme. So this is only over the Ponzi scheme, the alleged allegations of the alleged Ponzi scheme by the alleged business partner in a publication, allegedly Variety. Hyperbole. They did so in such a way that their series of statements was reasonably capable of sustaining the incorrect and defamatory meaning that Mr. Kavanaugh did in fact run a Ponzi scheme. I don't know if that's going to get us there. Like, reasonably capable is not the legal standard that we're looking for. Later, Klein began selling t-shirts to fans online with the slogan, "Govern yourself accordingly," which depicts Mr. Kavanaugh as a criminal defendant in a courtroom. Why does it say they depict him as a criminal defendant? Is it because he's in short sleeves? Maybe it's depicting him as a doctor. Did they say they were depicting him as a criminal defendant? Like, you can be a civil defendant in court, not a criminal defendant. I don't see handcuffs. Are we just assuming that a V-neck means you're a criminal? Or are we assuming that those are jail blues? And if so, does Ethan Klein know the difference in LA County between oranges and blues, I have questions. And if so, wouldn't they have chosen to put him in light blues? That's a real deep one for people with intimate knowledge of the LA County jail system. It is also a joke, but wouldn't that have been the choice? So are they just saying that he wears V-necks? Would they assume that he would wear a suit to court? Like, is that why they're saying depicted as a criminal defendant? Also, in a courtroom, the defendant would sit this way facing the judge. So, it's clearly a joke. Because also I don't see the court reporter or the witness stand or any attorneys. So, and the judge is wearing a wig. So are they portraying that he's a criminal defendant in England or Canada? Because that's not even in the States. Just saying. Govern yourself accordingly. Which depicts Mr. Kavanaugh as a criminal defendant. I think that's a leap. We've dived way too deep into that in a courtroom, doubling down on Klein's defamatory suggestion that Mr. Kavanaugh ran a criminal enterprise. I think that's a long way down to get there. But okay. Circumstances show that Mr. Klein intended this shirt to imply that Mr. Kavanaugh was guilty of financial crimes because keep reading, Emily. Just keep reading. Because during a September 3rd episode of H3 After Dark, Klein proposed various t-shirt ideas and asked his fans to vote on them, including a t-shirt featuring Kavanaugh's likeness with the word scam written above it. This was the design that received the most votes. Really? Do they link the episode? Joe Rogan is a giant hypocrite after dark. Do they timestamp it though to the shirt voting?
No. Yeah.
So wait, did scam receive the most? Scam, First Amendment for me, but not for the none. Cav reputation. Is that like bad reputation? Bad reputation. The notorious KAV. That's funny. Matter of Law 2. On October 21st, during an episode of Off the Rails titled Ethan Guesses Who's High, Klein admitted to creating a website, Does Ryan Kavanagh Look Like HarveyWeinstein.com? That's a really long website name, which repeats the same defamatory remarks that Mr. Kavanaugh runs a Ponzi scheme. Oh my God. Okay. Ponzi scheme. In 2019, Elon Spar signed a complaint under oath alleging that Kavanaugh persuaded him to go into business together under false pretenses. The suit was resolved out of court. The story was covered in a June 7th, 2019 Variety article. Ryan Kavanagh accused by ex-partner of running Ponzi scheme. Well, that's the title of the article. They just put in the title of the article. This is really the one you're bringing up. Look, really? This is they quote the title of the article. Okay. We're only on page 22 of 40. I have to move on. We have to keep going. Klein knew that the claim that Mr. Kavanaugh was running a Ponzi scheme was false. The claim, to be fair, is that Mr. Kavanaugh was accused by his business partner of running a Ponzi scheme. I feel like I've said it enough that it's burned into my mind that the claim is not that Kavanaugh ran a Ponzi scheme. The claim is, in fact, that Kavanaugh was accused by his ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme, which are two separate and distinct things. Even Fred can't deal. The claim that Kavanaugh was accused of running a Ponzi scheme was initially published in an article by Variety about a legal dispute between Kavanaugh and his former business partner, Elon Spar. Which is kind of a legit name, Elon Spar, which arose from the termination of their partnership. Partnerships are the only ship that never sail. According to Variety, in 2019, Spar filed a lawsuit alleging that Kavanaugh defrauded him and was running his company, Proxima Media, as a Ponzi scheme. Wait. Does the lawsuit say in the lawsuit? I've been drinking, but does the lawsuit say in the lawsuit that the business partner did allege that? What? Because if the business partner The lawsuit says that the business partner said it. Am I misreading this? Does the lawsuit say on the face of the lawsuit that the business partner said it? We need to keep reading. Was initially published. So it was published. We're not arguing that it was published. In an article by Variety about the legal dispute between Kavanaugh and his business partner, which arose from the termination of their partnership. According to the article, Spahr filed a lawsuit alleging that Kavanaugh defrauded him and was running his company Proxima Media as a Ponzi scheme. However, Spahr never filed a lawsuit against Kavanaugh. Indeed, the article included a copy of Spahr's, quote, supposed lawsuit that is clearly marked unfiled on every page. And Los Angeles Superior Court has no record of a lawsuit between Spahr and Kavanaugh ever having been filed. Then that's on Variety for publishing an unpublished lawsuit, because lawsuits contain allegations and shade. But okay. Oh, okay, good. Let's get to their theory of the case, please. Klein knew the Ponzi scheme claims to be false at the time he made them because the Variety article that he read and relied on contains a correction published just a few hours after the initial article. When was the article published? 2019? In which Spahr, and thank you, Kavanaugh's lawyers, for including dates, unlike the Triller lawsuits. We like it. We like it. We like it. Published just a few hours after the initial article, in which Spahr unequivocally disavowed the Ponzi scheme allegations, stating that they were, quote, not accurate. Update. Is this the update from the article? Oh, thank God there's a link to the fucking article. No! I gotta read this. I was going for the link to the fucking article. Update. Kavanaugh and Spahr appear to have mended fences. Kavanaugh's rep sent a statement Friday afternoon saying they have satisfactorily resolved all of their issues. That doesn't mean he didn't make the accusation. The statement also accused Variety and the Hollywood Reporter of having attempted to smear both Kavanaugh and Spahr. Is this the statement from Kavanaugh's rep? The statement from Kavanaugh's rep is not a statement from Spahr. We need to keep going. The statement also accused Variety and Hollywood Reporter of having attempted to smear both Kavanaugh and Spahr by quoting from their lawsuits against each other, which they have now say they submitted to the court by accident. Your finger slipped on the button? Oops, we filed it and paid the filing fees. Which they now say they submitted by accident. They didn't say they didn't submit it. They said it was an accident, but that doesn't mean it wasn't submitted. And that doesn't mean it wasn't signed under penalty of perjury. And that doesn't mean it wasn't put in a lawsuit that went to the court. And that's not a statement from the business partner. That's a statement from Kavanaugh's rep. Kavanaugh's rep. Let's keep reading. Unfortunately, what was in reality an employment dispute was blown way out of proportion by the press reports this morning. The fact that the private documents went public was a mistake. Oh, that both people did it by mistake? Neither was intended to be legally filed. Kavanaugh and Spahr are on good terms. Were they having a legal pissing match? I'm going to sue you. No, I'm going to sue you. No, I'm going to sue you, motherfucker. Look at my lawsuit. No, look at my lawsuit. My lawsuit's bigger than your lawsuit. Fuck you, I'm filing my lawsuit. Fuck you, I'm filing my lawsuit. And then they both ended up in court and then got yoinked before they got officially filed, which is all detailed in the Hollywood Reporter article. But these all come from Kavanaugh's rep. Like, I can read. What is happening? Spahr apparently has some regrets as well, saying that Kavanaugh is not really running a Ponzi scheme as he alleged in his suit, which is also posted below. Good. So the suit's posted, but he said, no, that's not really what I meant. But it doesn't mean he didn't say it in the documents. But he did seemingly have regrets. Like, I regret saying it in public. Spar apparently has some regrets as well, saying that Kavanaugh is not really running a Ponzi scheme, as he alleged in his suit. Did he file it under penalty of perjury with perjury? Ryan has been funding the ESX operation himself, Spar said. To my knowledge, based on information provided to me, Ryan has and is investing heavily in this business, and any reference to ESX or any related business as a, quote, Ponzi scheme is not accurate. He is a visionary thinker, and I wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. Sounds like a lawyer statement. Here, he and I have no remaining disputes. Well, I'm going to link the Variety article, which still exists because the internet is forever. And then I'm going to have it put in the description box below. So if you're on the replay and you've gotten this far, A, fully for you. And B, don't forget to like and subscribe. And C, you can read the article too. It's linked down below. Okay, so update below. Update below. Where's the update? How far below? Update. Oh, that's long. Wait a second. This one doesn't say unfiled. This one against Elon Spar doesn't say unfiled, but it also doesn't have a filing stamp at the top. This one does say unfiled by Elon Spar to Ryan Kavanagh. Oh, I'm 19 pages of lawsuit. We're definitely going to have to read that. That update's long. We'll come back. We're not going to deep dive on, but it's there. And so it's here. Spar had some regrets as well. Kavanaugh also faulted the press for not fact-checking the allegations that he and his former business partner leveled at each other over the last 24 hours. But it says leveled. When he says the truth is that they have nothing but the highest regard for each other. There are dual lawsuits that were prepared. Something was going on. We were figuring out how we were parting ways with our business when our business interests diverged. And it's unfortunate that the press spun this the way it did. We only want the best for each other, Kavanaugh said. Elon is a great banker. We just have different business interests. As usual, the press spun a mountain out of a molehill. Okay. But it just, okay. Okay, but they're attached. And weren't taken down, which means they didn't ask Variety to take it down. They just have the update in it. All right. Klein, having read the Variety article, knew of the retraction at the time he began repeating and republishing the defamatory Ponzi scheme claims on June 11th, 2021. Klein refuses to retract his false claims that Mr. Kavanaugh ran a Ponzi scheme. And again, I think that the statements are the business partner accused, but they're saying the retraction was that the business partner didn't accuse him of that. But does it say Ponzi scheme in the lawsuit? Like, we're going to control F ourselves. Let's make this a little bigger. One occurrence on page 4. It became apparent to Spar that Kavanaugh was operating Proxima and its related entities as essentially a Ponzi scheme, using meager new investment capital to satisfy old debts, diverting corporate funds for personal use, and manipulating the corporate books and records to conceal his misrepresentations. Page 10, 2 occurrences. As a Ponzi scheme, Kavanaugh seeks new investor money to cover existing obligations, and misrepresentations have gone public, and that Kavanaugh is now on information and belief, inducing others to consider investing in his scheme based on similar misrepresentations. 3 results across 2 pages. I mean, the headline wasn't retracted, and it says it in the suit that was accidentally filed. Well, not filed, that was unfiled, but was publicly available because it was in the system, which as explained by the Hollywood Reporter. Also, this law firm is Sidley Austin. Like, I don't think Sidley Austin whoopsied anything. Okay. Sidley's a really well-respected law firm. Okay. We're going to just Klein refused to retract his false claim that Variety said that. Wait, no, that's my reading into it. That they're saying he's claiming that Kavanaugh ran a Ponzi scheme versus he's claiming that he was accused of that. But rather than issuing a correction or retracting Klein's statements, defendants have doubled down. Well, I think that that's accurate. I think it's accurate that he doubled down. I think that I agree with. I agree with that. Now, whether that's illegal or not, we might not see eye to eye on this, Mr. Kavanaugh. To repeat and republish false claims that Kavanaugh was accused of running. Oh, there we go. I think that's the claim, that Kavanaugh was accused of running a Ponzi scheme. The argument about whether this is a false claim is going to be a long and drawn out argument. And they have done so in such a way as to imply that those accusations about Mr. Kavanaugh are true. In context, though, okay. Even the defendants know they are not. In fact, 2 days after receiving the retraction demand letter, did you send one to Variety? Because Variety still has it up. I wonder if Variety got a retraction demand. I mean, clearly they got something because they updated their article, but they did not retract the headline. They updated the article saying, well, now they say it's not true. And now they say it's not true. It's not the same as it is not an accusation that was made. They're just saying now that the accusation wasn't made, though. Let's see if the lawsuit is signed under, because I'm guessing. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Variety, for helping us play along at home. We're going to just swoosh to the end and see if this is, in fact, signed under penalty of perjury. I'm a party to this action, and I have read the ongoing complaint and know its contents. The matters in the complaint are true based on my knowledge, except as to these matters stated on information and belief. It's still signed and executed. Oh, and there's a confidential NDA. Okay, we might have to do a breakdown of these lawsuits as well. This unfiled lawsuit that is full of, again, allegations and shade. But if you're saying they're allegations and shade, isn't it accurate that they're allegations? Oh, y'all are asking for DEFCON red. I don't know. I think we might get more fuckery in this lawsuit. I don't know if we can go red yet. We can go hot pink. We can go hot pink. Oh my God, it's 9:45. How did it get so late? How did it get so late? We're kind of at hot pink. Maybe we'll just go red. Should we just go red? I mean, I feel like we should just go red. We're going to go red. Y'all, if you are flash and light sensitive, just know that this flashes for a minute. When the sound is done, so is it. We're going to DEFCON red. It's so funny to me because the headings of this lawsuit are like, Klein refuses to retract his false claims that Kavanaugh ran a Ponzi scheme. But then when you get into the reading of it, it's like, rather than issuing a correction or retraction, they have doubled down and republished false claims that Kavanaugh was accused of running a Ponzi scheme, which are two very different, like legally two very different statements. And they have done so in such a way as to imply that those accusations about Mr. Kavanaugh are true, which is going to be a disagreement of fact, I think. In fact, 2 days after receiving the retraction and demand letter from Kavanaugh's attorneys during a July 15th episode of H3 After Dark, Klein explicitly confirmed that he had actual knowledge that the Ponzi scheme claims were false. But that the allegation was false, or that the claims were false, or that it had been an allegation. Oh, I'm supposed to make this disclaimer, okay? So, okay, guys, this is an important disclaimer regarding the Ponzi scheme thing. So everybody listen up. We want to be fair. We want to tell you the whole picture, and we want to be as objective as possible. So when it comes to the Ponzi scheme, his partner, ex-partner, who accused him of running a Ponzi scheme in Variety, actually took back the statement. So the allegations from his former partner, who claims he was running a Ponzi scheme, were made under oath. I mean, they were made under penalty of perjury in the lawsuit. Penalty of perjury is the signature. He didn't make them under oath explicitly under This is under penalty of perjury. Which under penalty of perjury is an oath in essence, but under oath has a connotation of being in court. That's me being picky because it's under penalty of perjury, but that is a lawyer distinction, not a non-lawyer distinction. But the ex-business partner claims not under oath. Once they settled, he took it back and he said he didn't even mean to file the lawsuit. So once they settled, he's not under oath, said, "Oh, it was just a joke. LOL. I didn't even mean to file the lawsuit." I mean, that seems like it maybe is what happened though. Under oath, his ex-partner said this guy's running a Ponzi scheme under penalty of perjury. Well, I don't know if he was in court, but I think he signed something under oath. Yes. Yay, there. Correct. Verifying that he wrote it in the lawsuit was that what he wrote in the lawsuit was true and correct. So after they settled, right, his ex-partner, not under oath, said, he didn't run a Ponzi scheme and I didn't even mean to file the lawsuit, which by the way, was a huge complaint they spent a lot of money on. And so I don't really know of any lawyer that accidentally files a complaint. I mean, it's an odd thing to say. And by the way, the ex-partner, oh my God, I accidentally wrote up this huge complaint and I accidentally, oh my God, you guys, oh my God. I accidentally wrote up this huge complaint and accidentally filed it. So I guess y'all need to decide for yourselves which version you think is true. The one under penalty, under risk of perjury, under oath, or the claim after they settled of lol, we didn't mean to file it, JK. Footnote 30. Oh, footnote 30. Probably not timestamped. I'm not even going to keep hitting the link. But there we go. They actually put a picture of it in with the drop shadow. This one-time disclosure of Variety's article correction was in actuality a reaffirmation of Klein's prior defamatory remarks that was itself false, defamatory, and made with actual malice. Klein sought to undermine the Variety correction by stating that the original scheme claims were made under oath because the pleading appends a filing verification, and because it's implausible, a pleading would be filed in error. These statements were made with actual malice because the Variety article that Klein read contains an embedded PDF of the pleading, which he also read. Oh, well, see, it's been read. The document bears the large and unmistakable watermark unfiled on every page. There's still allegations that became public. Kind of like the accidental release of Josh Duggar's police report from when he was a juvenile under a Freedom of Information Act request that shouldn't have been released because he was a juvenile, but was released and was published by In Touch and is now being used in a criminal court. Because you know what? It was accidentally released, but it still became public knowledge because it was still published, because it was still released. This was still filed and got into the court system, though it didn't, and well, it was still in the court system, though it didn't get filed, stamped, and sent to a court. This filing was filed on, let's see, this filing, where's my time? Oh, damn it. They only stamped the first page. Hold on. We're going to go to the first page and then we're going to have to get back to Klein refuses to retract his false statement. We have to get back to the photo. What page is this? 24. We got to go to the top first. Because this was filed at the Santa Monica courthouse, well, digitally, on November 29th at 7:09 p.m. So this was electronically filed and processed into the system at 7:09 p.m. They could have put it in earlier, but with that, it still didn't show up on the court system for me until today. So it took several days, and that's the gap time that is talked about in the article by the Hollywood Reporter that did a really good job of talking about that time gap when unfiled things can be retracted. However, Variety still had a copy of a signed pleading that was not filed. Okay. Factually, it's very interesting because you're dealing with stuff that was maybe accidentally leaked and an update that was made, but a retraction wasn't made. And you still have this article existing on the internet. So if somebody's repeating what's in the article and the article hasn't been retracted, the headline has not been altered, even in the Johnny Depp case, the Sun, after they brought it up, changed the headline. The headline was up for 24 hours that he sued off of. Okay, we're going to just continue because we're only halfway through this shit. The one-time disclosure of the Variety article's correction was in actuality a reaffirmation of the prior defamatory remarks. If Klein believed the accusations to be true after reading the correction and reviewing the pleading marked unfiled, at a minimum, he had an obligation to conduct additional investigation to ascertain the truth or falsity of the claims before republishing them to his millions of viewers around the globe. His failure to do so was reckless. So they are trying to establish in the pleadings a reckless disregard for the truth. They've brought further attention to it by putting it in their lawsuit and linking the article so everyone can play along at home. Klein's false statements were motivated by ill will and a desire to attract viewers to generate revenue. YouTube viewers don't really give a shit about who Ryan Kavanagh is. They care that Triller sued Klein twice along with others. Mike. It's also commentary. Okay. Ugh. Klein's on-air remarks make clear that his comments about Mr. Kavanaugh were motivated by hostility and ill will over Triller Fight Club's copyright lawsuit against defendants, for which they have blamed Mr. Kavanaugh, the partial owner of the company, but okay. In addition, defendants sought to draw in viewers for their podcast by manufacturing drama with Mr. Kavanaugh and creating a common enemy to fuel online engagement and boost viewership. I mean, the show has other enemies that are actually on YouTube that would actually speculatively drive more views. But all right. Enriching defendants at Mr. Kavanaugh's expense. Tell me what the expense is. I want to know the harm. By attracting viewers, defendants make money in several ways. First, the structure of YouTube's partner program rewards creators for views. Accurate. YouTube sells advertisements. Yes. Which it then plays during videos that content creators post online. The creators are then paid per viewer per thousand viewer that watches the ad. So attracting viewers directly increases defendants' revenue. Ooh, there's a footnote about YouTube. Amanda Pirelli, how much money YouTubers make according to dozens of creators? Business Insider, August 19th, 2021. Fascinating. I will read it later. Second, content creators share revenue from YouTube Premium subscribers who pay to enjoy YouTube ad-free. This creates the same incentive as ad-based revenue. That's actually accurate and succinct. Third, defendants' YouTube channels sell fans a, quote, membership. Well, it's actually called a membership. I don't know if you need a quote, but okay. Which allows them to access additional uncensored and ad-free content from H3. Finally, Klein sells merchandise to devoted fans. They have not said foot soldiers yet. Damn it. Because of YouTube's compensation model, this self-created drama is essential to defendants' podcast and their personal financial success. In line with these incentives, defendants have repeatedly manufactured similar conflicts in the past. I can't. YouTube drama making it into lawsuits is like this strange inception situation, and it's always weird to watch, and it always amuses me. I mean, are you not entertained? For example, in 2020, Daniel Keem posted a video suggesting that Klein was lying about using his own funds to pay his legal fees in an ongoing copyright lawsuit. Is that regarding the Haas lawsuit, which I broke down on the channel? If you're new here, I have a video on it. In response, Klein produced a video about Keem titled Content Nuke and leveled a host of accusations at and generally disparaging his character. I like that they are also now evaluating whether Ethan, they believe, has disparaged Keemstar. But okay. According to a May 2020 Business Insider article, Klein's fans sent numerous messages and comments to social media accounts associated with the energy drink G Fuel, urging the brand to cancel its sponsorship of Keem. In a since removed video posted by Keem, he claimed, well, if it's since removed, I need a drink of water. If it's a since removed video, how is that content any different than a Variety article that's still on the fucking internet? How is it different? Make it make sense. Okay. In a since removed video posted by Keem, how did they have access to it then? Where did they find it? Who gave it to them? Is it footnote? Is it linked? Is it? Oh, it is linked. Okay, we're gonna have to go look at that. Because if it was removed, where is it re-uploaded? And if it's re-uploaded, is it an illegal re-upload? I have so many questions. Keem claimed, and again, Keem's opinion about Klein is not relevant to whether Klein defamed Kavanaugh. It's kind of like a murderous conspiracy where somehow Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson are responsible for whether a YouTuber defamed Toddy Westbrook. That's not how that works. All right, I'm done, I think. I can't promise that. He claimed Klein was setting a dangerous precedent for the commentary community by encouraging his followers to spam Keem's sponsors' accounts and reportedly threatened to sue Klein over his lost sponsorship. Oh, so are they linking the reported threats to sue? Footnote 32. A Cat 10 Bar article. Hey, Cat, like the gang from Insider's all here. YouTubers are reporting that Old Spice dropped its sponsorship of H3's Ethan Klein amid a brewing troll war with Keemstar. But if Old Spice dropped its sponsorship of Ethan, how is that Keem's sponsorship being what? And isn't this the same article that Triller cited in its California lawsuit? Yes, it is. I asked. It would, you know what I mean. To this day, Klein routinely complains about Keem at length during his podcast. The fact that the Keem-Klein beef is in the Kavanaugh lawsuit is just almost meta. During his podcast, despite having received a suspension from YouTube for his attacks on Keem earlier this year. In September 2020, Klein entered into a joint venture to host a show called Frenemy. Back to frenemies? Why? 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 Why is YouTube drama so relevant? Did he say that Kavanaugh was accused of running a Ponzi scheme by his business partner? Yes. Here are the videos and timestamps. Great. Guess what? It's going to be a legal and possibly factual determination about whether saying someone was accused by someone else of doing something is in fact defamatory under the law. What Keemstar thinks and what happened on Frenemies is irrelevant. Your Honor, we would like you to know that Keemstar is also big mad at Ethan and thinks he's the worst. Just take it under advisement. My phone is like, Emily, you've been live forever. Yeah, yes. Sorry, y'all. It's just one of those days. Thank you, mods. All right. In September 2020, Klein entered into a joint venture to host a show called Frenemies with fellow YouTuber Trisha Paytas, who was engaged to Klein's brother-in-law, Moses. Oh, okay, Moses is here too. And with whom Klein has had disputes in the past. Frenemies was extremely popular during its 9-month run. However, after a series of disputes, Paytas quit the show in June 2021. Subsequently, Klein relentlessly criticized Paytas and claimed she would be to blame if Klein's pregnant wife suffers a miscarriage. That's a low blow in a lawsuit. Also, here's the thing. That leaves out a whole lot of the story. Wow. Just, I feel like the lawyer's instructions on this were seek and destroy and just like throw in like content nuke the lawsuit. What the fuck? And that's also, as the chat is saying, that's not even what was said. Yeah, notice it's not in quotes. That's low. And I don't really, if you like Ethan or you don't, I mean, the thing is that this isn't really about Ethan per se. This is about YouTubers being attacked for the things that they say. But this isn't just happening here. Hold on. Oh fuck, we're gonna soapbox for a moment. This isn't just happening here. There's another lawsuit I've been meaning to cover with Chalene Johnson fighting with a plastic surgeon who's suing her over speaking about what happened. There is a reason people are able to talk. The thing is, when you use lawsuits to silence people, it can just shut people down financially. That is a reality in our court system. I don't think with Chalene it will shut them down financially. I think with Ethan, they have a thriving enough business that it won't shut them down financially. But you are allowed to dislike other people. You are allowed to say things about people on the internet. You are not allowed to defame people. But so-and-so was accused of this. Is that defamatory? We're going to talk about it. But that is a low blow. And it's, you know, even though the writing is good, why is this in here other than to also use litigation privilege to smear someone? It's low and it's not necessary. It's just, we don't even, lip gloss isn't even going to fix this. I just can't believe that's in here. And it paints it as Klein saying it. It's just, Paytas has received relentless harassment via text and online, leading her to withdraw from online communities from which she derives all of her income. I don't know if that's accurately framed. Also, I think they're just rounding up Ethan's enemies and like, we go together. I don't. It's a really, really low blow. Well, they came out of the gate to make it messy. I mean, and here the fuck we are. But it leaves out a whole lot of the context. The thing is, it almost baits Ethan's lawyers to spend the money, which I'm sure that they won't dignify some of this shit, but to spend the money and the expense to be like, well, actually, Trisha Paytas went on a Twitter tirade as well. A lot of it got deleted. There were videos, there were hyperventilations, there were also defamatory statements, there were slurs, there was a lot more context, but Ethan shouldn't have to rehash YouTube beef that has nothing to do with the person suing him in defending a lawsuit. It's just, they're like, no, it's free speech. We can say whatever the fuck we want. Okay. Okay. Let's just go low. In 2016, Klein went after another content creator who sued him for copyright infringement. Oh, this is how we're going to categorize the Matt Haas lawsuit that he won as Klein going after another content creator who sued him for copyright infringement because it was fair fucking use. He posted a video titled "We're Being Sued" on May 24th, 2016, which reportedly portrayed the copyright plaintiff as a greedy and litigious bully. They won the Matt Haas suit. So, like, won, not like settled and say they won, like actually won in court with the judge saying, you win. That's on my channel too. Okay. The copyright plaintiff subsequently received numerous threats as well as downvotes. Well, don't worry. YouTube's fixed that problem. On his videos from Klein's fans, 34. Fans are allowed to say, we don't like this and we don't like you. That's what's allowed to happen. I like that they leave out that Klein won that lawsuit. Like, just, wow. I'm glad we went DEFCON red. Like, the fuckery is real. Klein intends, yes! Foot soldiers! Damn it, I'm out of whiskey. We finally got to foot soldiers in a lawsuit at page 26. It had to happen. We knew it was coming based on the other lawsuits. These are the things that we look for. Klein intends his, quote, foot soldiers to republish his false and defamatory claims and at a minimum foresees they will do so and continue to spread the claims like herpes. Added for context, for being funny. All right. Klein's fans who have adopted the moniker Foot Soldiers routinely republish his false and defamatory claims about Mr. Kavanaugh, which is Klein's intended result, or at minimum, a foreseeable result of his conduct. In recent months, Klein has instructed viewers on how to help increase the prominence of the website. Does Ryan Kavanagh look like HarveyWeinstein.com? How does it have anything to do with the underlying accusations that Klein said that Kavanaugh's business partner accused him of a Ponzi scheme? It has nothing to do with does Ryan Kavanagh look like Harvey Weinstein, which contains a false Ponzi scheme claims on the Google search algorithm. How high up on the Google search algorithm does it populate? Is it high? Klein often encourages viewers to post memes. Memes are funny! And other messages mocking Kavanaugh on Reddit and Twitter. Mocking's not illegal. As much as it's not fun, it's also not illegal. There are some things that are illegal. Mocking with memes isn't it. Comedy. Has Kavanaugh never opened a newspaper and looked at, I don't know, political cartoons are basically OG memes, I think, and generally clever and highly, highly mocking. You're allowed to mock. It's one of the things protected by free speech. Comedy is highly protected by free speech. Pornography, highly protected by free speech. I'm so annoyed. You can't sue someone over shit other people say on Reddit. For example, on July 12th, 2021, following many defamatory tirades about Mr. Kavanaugh, Klein tweeted, "Submit your Ryan Kavanagh memes to the subreddit for Wednesday, July 14th. Memes are protected. Klein, you guys are like, the website's number 4 in Canada, number 3. Look, if you're going to sue Ethan Klein, you have to know that he comes with a community that isn't going to fuck around. But also, Google's not within their control. Go sue the algorithm. Klein's foot soldiers responded by parroting his defamatory and otherwise insulting statements about Mr. Kavanaugh online on Twitter, Reddit, and other social media forums. Have they found like Kiwi farms yet? Do they know that there are other online forums? I'm not saying there's shit about Ryan Kavanagh there. I'm just saying there's other online places where people say horrible shit about other people because free speech. One person tweeted, defending a... What? Defending a genocidal ethno-state, cringiest thing you've done since allegedly running a Ponzi scheme. It says allegedly. Now, allegedly doesn't always count, but also, you can't sue someone for defamation for something someone else said. Oh, good. We get all the tweets with a drop shadow. Is there drop? Wait a second. Is there drop shadow within drop? There is. There's drop shadow within drop shadow. Similarly, on September 9th, guess what people are allowed to post on Twitter? Klein asked his followers on Twitter, when you think of Ryan Kavanagh, what comes to mind? Many of his followers tweeted Ponzi scheme in response to Klein's own false claims. Oh, parroting Klein's own false claims. These are clipped out. I'm sure there's a link. There's a link. Oh, there's a subreddit too. All right. How much he looks like Harvey Weinstein. A talking testicle is what comes up for me. You, for the love of God, Ethan, give it up. Those are the top 3 for me. None of them say anything about a Ponzi scheme. I could show more replies, but we'd be here forever if I go down that rabbit hole. So they've picked the ones that they like the best. Ponzi scheme. They didn't put talking testicle. Why didn't talking testicle make it? I would say what sticks out in my mind is he was accused by his ex-partner, also written about in the very astute Variety magazine, that he was running a Ponzi scheme, allegedly. Didn't he get accused by his ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme, as reported by reputable Variety? And honestly, looks a lot like Harvey Weinstein. Ponzi scheme. Ponzi scheme. Didn't his ex-business partner accuse him of running a Ponzi scheme? I think I read about it in Variety. the fact that it was reported in the extremely reputable Variety magazine that Ryan Kavanagh was accused by his ex-business partner of running a Ponzi scheme. Klein's fans have otherwise acted to parrot defendants' defamatory claims about Mr. Kavanaugh on numerous occasions. For example, a person posted Ponzi scheme, upvote this post. So when searching for Ponzi scheme, Ryan Kavanagh shows up. It's Reddit. Take it up with Reddit. Oh, boo. It's not there. Well, I don't have to make sound effects on my own anymore. Boo. Yet another person tweeted, somehow this trailer showed up on my feed. And after some investigating, I came to realize the creator of this even has bankrupted his previous companies and has been involved in creating a Ponzi scheme and has an uncanny resemblance to Harvey Weinstein. But I can't see if that's in response because it doesn't show that it's in response to H3. This one just shows it's in response to Ryan Kavanagh, Triller, and 11 others. Klein has coordinated fans' amplification. I mean, that sounds like a lot of work of other harassment of Mr. Kavanaugh in the past. For example, Klein has implicitly and explicitly urged his foot soldiers. Damn it, I should have waited. The foot soldiers are coming out now, but this is all just parroting the other lawsuit. Are we going to allege damages? Please, for the love of life, damages. Damages. Urged his foot soldiers to harass Mr. Kavanaugh by leaving 1-star reviews of the Triller app in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, which is the subject of a second lawsuit that hasn't been mentioned in this lawsuit. In one episode of H3 After Dark, Klein said, I'll be checking in on the Triller reviews. Try the app, see how it goes, give it a 1-star or more, laughter, 1 or more stars, some amount of stars between 1 star and up to maybe 5 stars. Download Triller and rate it 1 star or more. That's what I did. But look, that's the subject of a separate lawsuit. We're just good. Okay. Okay. How do you prove the reviews are false when he said download the app and give it a review? You're allowed to give people a review. You're allowed to download an app. Since Klein first issued this directive, the Triller app has received thousands of 1-star reviews. During the same period of time, the other lawsuit alleges that there was an inversion issue. In his videos, Klein often features and promotes these, quote, troll reviews, creating an incentive for viewers to post cruel and outrageous reviews in the hope of having their reviews featured on air. In the July 8th, 2021 episode of Off the Rails, again, reviews, if they are not defamatory, are protected speech. In the July 8th, 2021 episode of Off the Rails, for example, Klein promised to continue checking on the Triller reviews and be back every episode to review the reviews. And then they linked them. In addition, since Klein began his harassment campaign, Mr. Kavanaugh has received thousands of negative comments on his various social media profiles, including threatening statements directed at him and his family. As just one example, an Instagram user wrote, "Kill yourself. Nah, real bitch." Those are awful threats, but also go find the person who's making the threats. Because again, the person making the threats is the problem. And again, I can't say not all creators, but most creators don't want their fans making death threats at people. It does happen if you are a social media personality. How do they attribute this threat to that event? This threat doesn't say anything about a Ponzi scheme, awkward, or your thing being flipped. None of it. Okay. But there is drop shadow. Further, Klein's fans routinely act in this fashion, having carried out similar directives from Klein in the past, as outlined in paragraphs 52 through 54 above. Mr. Kavanaugh has suffered and continues to suffer enormous harm. Sorry, my mind wanted to say erroneous harm, and then I was like, that can't be right. They wouldn't say the harm was erroneous.
but we've been drinking and my brain fills things in because ADHD. What is the harm? Defendant's widespread publication declines millions of online followers of the false and defamatory accusations that Mr. Kavanaugh ran a criminal Ponzi scheme, that Mr. Kavanaugh was alleged by his business partner to run. They're trying to make it same, but I'm trying to correct it in my head, have caused enormous and irreparable harm to Mr. Kavanaugh's reputation and his business. How is there harm? That is a conclusory statement. What tangible harm is there? Hurt feelings is not enough for harm. What is the harm? How has your business been harmed? At least in the Toddy Westbrook business, it was like, these are people who didn't buy Halo Beauty, and these are how views went down. What harm? You can't just say, I've been harmed. It's like business, 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 business. Is this working? Is this thing on? I've been very harmed. I am hurt. I am very much hurt. You have to, where is the harm? Tell us what harm. Email me, someone. What is the harm? The harm is not just reputational, right? You're a public figure. You have to prove there has to be damages. Where is harm? Klein's declaration of war. Oh, there we go. War. War. Want to go to war. Man, do man shit. Sorry, I've been. TikTok. Klein's declaration of war against Mr. Kavanaugh has predictably prompted hundreds, if not thousands, of threatening statements directed towards Mr. Kavanaugh and his family by Klein's hardcore and loyal foot soldiers. As a result of these credible threats of harm, Kavanaugh has suffered and continues to suffer emotional distress. In addition, harm. In addition, because of these allegations and the phony one-star review of Klein's foot soldiers have baselessly posted about the Triller app, Kavanaugh has incurred substantial financial losses, estimated to be in the tens of millions of dollars, and in an amount to be proven at trial. Okay. Triller is suing in state court. And in the middle of the anti-slap motions, which at 3 hours we're clearly not getting to today, they were asked by the court to show their damages. Prove to us, which they did not do in their opposition to the anti-slap motion, prove to us how you have been damaged financially. If that anti-slap motion gets granted and the harm here is predicated on the same thing, how are they going to prove harm? Additionally, is Kavanaugh trying to attribute personal damage to his business from the harm that comes from Triller? Triller has already sued. How are you taking... He is not the only owner of Triller. So Triller needs to sue for Triller and Kavanaugh needs to sue for Kavanaugh. What other businesses are harmed? And if it's just Triller, then the Triller lawsuit is what you get. Or do you think that the Triller lawsuit is going to get dumped on the anti-slap, and that's why you're trying to bring in a second lawsuit, or third lawsuit, truly a fourth lawsuit, because you know that that one's going to get dumped by the court. But you don't get to just do that because it's going to be blocked. You can't sue for the same damages if it gets dismissed with prejudice. How has your business been harmed? And Triller doesn't count. They've already sued for the same claims. I am so annoyed. If there is other harm, say it. Where is it? Put it in here. Harm. What harm? People aren't downloading Triller. Prove that people aren't downloading Triller because of this. Oh, wait, you can't. Okay. Claims for relief, count one. Oh, goody. Claims for relief, count one, defamation. Kavanaugh repeats and realleges all the shit above. Defendants published false and defamatory statements about Kavanaugh to a worldwide internet audience on multiple occasions beginning on June 11th, 2021. And then we go through the statements that are listed above that we've already read through ad nauseum, so we are not going to read them again. And they are keying on the Ponzi scheme, maybe shady, but these are the statements they're alleging. Statement A, Statement B, July 1st, Statement A, Statement B, Statement C, which is, again, accused by ex-business partner.
His business partner alleged. Owner of Triller. Accused of running a Ponzi scheme. I mean, he's run a Ponzi scheme allegedly from his business partner, according to his ex-business partner. All of this says his ex-business partner said. All of it. Except for shady as fuck. That I think is an opinion statement, not a statement of fact, because how can one actually be shady? It's like saying someone's a piece of shit. You don't mean they're a literal piece of shit. Like people can be like mad about your mean words, but here he is, Ponzi scheme. I read he ran a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, here he is, right? In Variety. I read he ran a Ponzi scheme in Variety by his ex-business partner. All of this is his ex-business partner. And what the suit alleges. Klein said, who allegedly runs a Ponzi scheme? This Ryan Kavanagh. Basically, it's the same stuff we talked about over and over and over. On July 8th, Klein retweeted, every time I think of Ryan Kavanagh, this is literally rehashing all of the same facts above. I feel like I'm reading the same page over and over. These are the defamatory statements that they're alleging. It's all about the Ponzi. It's all about the Ponzi scheme. I still have questions about this shirt. Here's the thing though. If you are re-alleging everything above, you don't have to restate all of it. I mean, you could restate the statements, but you're just restating the exact pages that you reiterated before. Just we've cut and pasted these down here. So we're not rereading them, because if you re-allege what's above, you don't have to actually restate what's above. Okay, here we go. Klein's statements were intended to and did falsely convey that Kavanaugh was engaged in the criminal conduct of running a Ponzi scheme. Klein's accusations, which refer to Kavanaugh by name or likeness, are reasonably understood to be statements of fact about Kavanaugh. Klein's statements are false. And that is really going to be very interesting to see. Is saying his business partner accused him of a Ponzi scheme false? Because there's a signed lawsuit that has been published publicly. So how do you say that that's false? That's going to be very interesting to see. Klein's statements are false. Kavanaugh has never been involved in any way with a criminal Ponzi scheme, but was he accused by his business partner? They keep trying to parse the language, but parsing the language like that isn't going to work when you look at the statements that were said video after video after video. Klein's statements are defamatory and libelous per se. We get to talk about defamation per se. Look, why didn't you just say so? I would have stopped ranting about damages. This doesn't say defamation per se. Here's the difference. Defamation per se, you don't have to prove damages. It's assumed that a statement is so defamatory, is so damaging to reputation, is so outrageous that you don't have to prove damages. It's assumed that you've been damaged. Their defamatory meaning is apparent on their face. Oh. We disagree about what the statement is, because it depends on what the meaning of is. If the statements that you are alleging, which I should just not soapbox right now, but if the statements that you are alleging are he was accused by his business partner of running a Ponzi scheme, then the accusation I don't think falls under defamation per se, because it's not saying someone has committed a crime. It's saying that someone was accused of committing a crime. And those are different things. Oh, we lost where we were. All right. We haven't even got to defamation by implication yet. Their defamatory meaning is apparent on its face without the necessity of an explanatory manner, and they accuse Mr. Kavanaugh of a crime. They accuse him of being accused of a crime. Have exposed Kavanaugh to hatred and contempt, which goes under the per se, and have injured him in his occupation as a producer, entertainment executive, and entrepreneur. Klein's statements were calculated to and did in fact provoke outrage. Again, these are the elements that are going to defamation per se. The lawyers have written this well. I don't like all the things that they have done, but it is not poorly written. provoke outrage, and cause Kavanaugh reputational and financial damage to defendants' financial benefit. But also the legal definition of outrage is not just like Kavanaugh's pissed about this, and also it's in other outlets. So the republishing is going to be hard. Defendants have no privilege or legal authorization to publish these false and defamatory accusations, or if they did, they abused it. As set forth in detail, defendants published these statements with actual malice by disregarding Variety's correction. When we talked about this above like an hour ago, failing to conduct any investigation whatsoever prior to publication, doubling down on and republishing these accusations when they were put on notice that the statements are false and ask them to retract them. Well, I imagine their statement would be, well, were you accused or weren't you? Because the statement being false is a dispute of fact. All in furtherance of Klein's plan to retaliate against Kavanaugh and Triller Fight Club's copyright lawsuit against him and to enrich himself at Kavanaugh's expense. Is Kavanaugh paying for all the clicks and views? I understand what they mean, but still. Upon information and belief, discovery will reveal additional evidence of defendants' actual malice, including their financial motive to manufacture conflict and to attract more viewers on their YouTube channel. Klein made these false and defamatory statements intentionally, willfully, maliciously, and in conscious disregard for Kavanaugh's rights and reputation and of the truth. Klein's defamatory falsehoods have been repeated and republished by numerous people. As a direct and foreseeable result of Klein's false and defamatory accusations, Kavanaugh has suffered financial and reputational harm. As a result of Klein's false and defamatory accusations, Kavanaugh's relationship with members of his community, his current and prospective business partners, and other individuals whom he has known and interacted with have been irreparably damaged. How? As a result of Klein's false and defamatory accusations, threatening statements have been directed at Kavanaugh and his family. But the statement that was shown doesn't show any indication it's coming from this. As a result of Klein's false and defamatory accusations, Kavanaugh has been forced to make an expenditure of money to remedy the defamation. Talk to Variety. What have you said to them? Kavanaugh is entitled to exemplary damages. Kavanaugh is entitled to exemplary damages because defendants published the false statements with actual malice. And then they're going through damages. Defamation by implication. Like under what section, though? Defendants published a series of statements that were reasonably capable of sustaining an incorrect and defamatory meaning about Mr. Kavanaugh to a worldwide internet audience. Specifically, defendants made statements outlined in paragraphs 68 through 80 to falsely imply and suggest to readers and listeners that Kavanaugh ran a Ponzi scheme. See id above with regard to what it alleged. Klein's accusations, which refer to Kavanaugh by name or likeness, are reasonably understood to be statements of fact about Kavanaugh and were understood by people who read them to be statements of fact about Kavanaugh. Klein juxtaposed a series of statements so as to create the false implication that Kavanaugh ran a criminal Ponzi scheme. Kavanaugh's statements create the implication that is defamatory and libelous per se. I need to pull some case law on defamation by implication in California. Their defamatory meaning is apparent on their face without the necessity of explanatory matter. I challenge. Because the statements that are pointed out say, accused. Defendants had no applicable privilege, which means like litigation privilege, reporting privilege, things like that. And we will see about reporting privilege because it is publishing statements about a public figure, of which was subject to public comment because it was published in both the Hollywood Reporter and Variety. Defendants published these statements with actual malice, same as above. These are same as above. Direct and foreseeable result of the defamatory implications. Kavanaugh has suffered financial and reputational harm to be later determined. Suffered emotional distress. Has harmed his community and current and prospective business partners, which is an odd allegation. Kavanaugh has been forced to make an expenditure of money, including the expenditure of attorney's fees. Like it's Trillery, but it's written better than Triller, but it's so Trillery. Kavanaugh is entitled to exemplary damages, malice, wantonness, conscious desire to cause injury, and defendants acted with reckless and willful indifference to Kavanaugh's rights. In view of the foregoing, Kavanaugh is entitled to general special damages. It'll be interesting to see if this gets slapped, if this gets settled, if the other slap motion gets granted and affects this, if there is a countersuit for the things that were just published by Kavanaugh. We are at the end of this, though, after 3 hours. That's a whole lot. That has some very unnecessary mess. And some of it's very spiteful. Like, I understand in a lawsuit you try to paint the other person, but the bringing up of beef with like Keemstar and Trisha Paytas, it's just so unnecessary, and it's just so unnecessary. So that's why we're covering it. I'm going to do a few questions. I'm sure our mods are the ones. Thank you, mods. I'm sure our mods are like, I am exhausted. It has been 3 hours. We stream for 3 hours now. No, we don't always, but I'm not streaming tomorrow. And so that it definitely is a little bit of a longer stream. And I appreciate all of you. So big mod love in the chat. Thank you. We will do just a few questions. It is just, it is just a lot. It is a lot. Question. I saw an assertion that Jim Bob Duggar could be running for office because of the legal protection for candidates for public office. Oh, it is late, but it's only the legal protections for persons in public office only relate to when they are actually in office doing duties of their office. So shit they did before doesn't and shouldn't count. So you are welcome. I also feel like I've aged, Moni Magoo. I feel like I've aged. I do. I'm just like, the thing is, they could have made this a more concise lawsuit. They didn't. We've seen lawsuits that seem to want to smear people, that it's just like we're throwing in all of the reputation shit. I mean, we saw lawsuits used as PR, in my opinion, with Nike versus Satan shoes, when they're like, it's not us. We didn't make the shoes. Misted made the shoes. Don't be mad at us. Stop canceling Nike over the shoes. We saw reputational harm being slapped against the wall in the Clark Swanson suit versus Toddy, with throwing in allegations that Toddy said things like, I'll sell whatever shit and what have you. We definitely see these things coming up in lawsuits. Some of it feels really disingenuous to me, but this is because I've watched a lot of this go down, and it's like, yeah, but they are an advocate for their side. Some of it's a little far for me. The defamation by implication, I need to pull some case law on. It's been a really long time, and I've never seen it alleged as a cause of action. It comes up, but it's not often. Also, using the damages to Triller as the damages here is an interesting quirk, but they're also alleging the defamation per se that doesn't need damages. Generally, crimes fall under defamation per se, but saying someone's been accused of a crime is different than saying someone committed a crime. And so that nuance is going to matter. That nuance can also be very, very expensive. And again, now I need some case law. I need to look at of defamation per se and see if there's any cases that really come up related to saying someone was accused of a crime versus saying someone committed a crime. Because this defamation lawsuit, now that we've gone through all 40 plus 41 pages of it, is centered on the accused by a business partner of running a Ponzi scheme. That is the crux of the issue. That is the statement taken issue with. And as we all know, that Variety article is still on the internet. So they didn't sue Variety, which is an interesting choice. So allegedly, Angela said, what is Triller in this world? LOL, new Real Housewife of Salt Lake City this weekend. Very excited for Salt Lake City. So let's see. Do you think that Ryan has gone to enter in a business deal and the other person was like, nah, man, I heard you on the H3 that you're accused of running a Ponzi scheme? If that happened, that should be alleged in here because they can show damages. Like a business deal didn't go through. You can show damages with stuff like that. If that happened, you would allege it. Question, aren't clergy mandated reporters in Arkansas? Teresa, Minnesota. On Tuesday, I went through the exception to the rule in Arkansas, and the exception is very interesting. I don't know if that part is time-stamped, but there are exceptions to that. In some, the exception is if your church does not require you to report, if it's like against your religious tenets, you don't have to report. And if the perpetrator discloses it, you don't have to report. So there's 2 exceptions to the rule in Arkansas, which was very interesting to find in the government's motion. How long do you think they've been working on this specific lawsuit? A while. This was not quickly put together. They would have gone through the videos. They internally would have probably transcribed the videos and things like that. They would have gone after this for a while. So, question, do you think the Cav lawsuit would be better brought under a cause of IIED as opposed to defamation? I don't know if he wants to, you have to prove things with IIED and mental health and give access to that stuff in discovery. And I don't know if he wants to open that door. I'm sure it was a conscientious thought and a conscientious choice. So, can Kavanaugh be prosecuted for harassment and trying to silence Ethan? Prosecuted means criminally. No, but when you look at like, most people think of like vindictive prosecution, but there is a like vexatious litigation. Whether they will counterclaim him is going to be up to them, and we will see what they choose to do. At what point is too much? But this is the first time he's suing them in a personal capacity. So how do they prove that he's really behind the Triller suits? Then does that put Ethan's lawyer that potentially told him that in a place where he's now a witness to the case saying, yes, I was told this, and that's where this is coming from? It becomes messy. Question, when do we find out the results of the anti-SLAPP? It depends. So it depends if the court grants leave to file additional proof of damages or not. So it depends. It depends. Question, can Ethan and or Hila countersue for blatant lies in this new lawsuit and the article Kavanaugh wrote? The lawsuit, no. Lawsuits are covered by litigation privilege. Lawsuits are allegations. They are not to be taken as truth. They are what one side is saying somebody else did. They are supposed to be backed by truth. They are signed under penalty of perjury, but they are allegations. So no, you can't sue for what is said about you in a lawsuit. With regard to the article Kavanaugh wrote, you can sue someone for what they write about you in an article. Question, is it not considered the horse is out of the stable in regards to the alleged Ponzi scheme? I mean, I want to go back through, for me, I want to go back through some of the journalistic privileges and go through that. So I absolutely want to go through a few of the other, there's some case law I want to go through, because generally going through and being like, hey, this was published in 2 outlets, right? It was not just in Variety, it was also in the Hollywood Reporter, and they attached the source documents, and it's like, this source document that's signed alleged this, but it's also not filed. And then the guy's like, ooh, it was a mistake, but that doesn't undo the fact that it's alleged in there, right? So saying someone is alleged to have done something when the allegation was there, even though they later retracted it, does that unring the bell of the fact that the allegation was made? And this becomes like a deep factual issue. So, Edward texts say Ethan doesn't sue people. He might counterclaim in this. He might choose to. This is not it's not quite the same as initiating a lawsuit when someone sues you and you cross-claim them. So maybe. Question, did Ethan lose the Triller lawsuit? Ryan posted as though Triller won. No, that lawsuit is trailing behind the California lawsuit. What Kavanaugh posted I thought was misleading. It looks like they got a default judgment. I need to pull that case and see if the person if they have proof of service, because you can get a default judgment if somebody wasn't served and didn't respond to the lawsuit. And it's like, oh, they never appeared in court. They never responded. You win. Also, if the person's out of the country, they might have been like, you don't have jurisdiction over me. Try to enforce it. Here's a default judgment. But no, that's not the Klein suit. Triller filed a number of suits. I'll pull it and clarify on Twitter and Instagram if you don't follow me there at the Emily D. Baker. Fred's like, I napped for 3 hours. Can we play now? Question, at what point does it become illegal to file so many lawsuits? It really depends, which is hard to say. Could the H3 case be a landmark precedent case? It depends what it depends what happens from here. It's always possible that when you fight out kind of a First Amendment case as what is speech, that it creates some precedent, but it also depends on how judgments are done. It depends on if it goes up on appeal. It just depends. But yes, any case can become a landmark case. And this is in defamation per se. There might not be many cases on, well, we're not saying that you did a criminal thing. We're saying that someone else said you did. We're saying that you were accused of it. And that is factually different. I would be interested in what LawTube thinks. We'll have to ask LawTube. Question, will Ryan have to prove the Ponzi scheme accusation is false or no, since it was reported by Variety and not Ethan? I mean, I'm trying to think through how they would want to present it in court, but he would have to say it's false, and their defense would be it's not false. They have to prove that the statement was made. The defense rests on, right, but we have the right to say true things, and this shit is true. So it's not that Ryan has to prove it was false. Ethan has to prove that it's true, which is why it took me a minute to flip. So, I saw your TED Talk. It's amazing, and you are glowing just now, girl. Thank you. That's probably a little bit of the whiskey. Question, do the jurors of the Duggar case have to look at the CM? Yep, they sure do. And jurors sure don't like having to do that. It is very traumatizing for them. If Ethan wins this case, will all the attorney's fees have to be paid by Ryan? How much is this amount usually in defamation lawsuits? It is way early to tell in this one. In the other California case, the Triller case, if the anti-SLAPP is granted, attorney's fees are automatically granted. If attorney's fees are not automatically granted, it just depends on the causes of action. So in an anti-SLAPP situation, yes, you get attorney's fees. In other litigation, it depends on how it breaks down. These cases can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more. Somebody's like, you're still live. I've had family dinner and did bedtime. I'm sure my family did too. Oh my God, because it's 10:45 at night. You guys are already doing legal research. I haven't looked at Hustler in a while. The case, Hustler versus Falwell, but I need to revisit it. I need to revisit some of my First Amendment cases. I don't have a photographic memory for case law. I remember principles, but I like to go back through and refresh on the fine duty. So on the fine cases, fine points. Thanks for covering Ethan's lawsuit. And also thanks to chat and mods for being so welcoming to H3 fans, foot soldiers. We have some chat rules. We are not the Wild West over here, but it's fine. I'm going to, Allison, I will look. Let's see. How important is the world allegedly? It's context that matters most, because it's so-and-so did this. I mean, allegedly. It depends on context. Allegedly doesn't always cover you, but saying someone was alleged to do this and saying this was alleged by that person generally does cover you, because it's look, this allegation happened from here. So the doubling down is kind of what aggravated this, though. Are you calling into H3 tomorrow? I heard that you would be. I have not scheduled anything with Ethan, but I will check my DMs. I'll check my DMs. I mean, it's hard to talk about suits while they're ongoing, other than what I've talked about here, but I will check my DMs and see if it works. Friday is crazy. So, Beth says, you're right, Emily. You cannot even unhear the descriptions of the downloads in the Duggar case. I literally cried. No words are even possible to describe how tragic. Yeah, I always strongly advise people not to Google. There are some things you can just be like, oh, that's going to be horrific, and you just don't need to go further than that. So I'm going to try to get to a few super chats and then bounce, because again, it's been over 3 hours. We definitely need a shirt with Emily's emoji girl's arms in the air yelling business, 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 business. Yeah, with Unikitty drawn on glasses. Do you think this would actually undermine Triller's copyright lawsuit, as this one says H3 used a clip of the fight for commentary? I think it will come up. But it doesn't, I think it will come up because fair use is going to come up. The quirk with fair use is how the clip was obtained, and that's really what Triller's trying to argue. The clip was illegal, therefore fair use can't apply because the clip was illegal, and that's kind of the quirk on that one, but we will see what happens. Question, can these lawsuits go on forever? Well, if one is dismissed with prejudice, you can't keep relitigating the same claims. And because they brought up, this is my opinion, on first blush, because they brought up the damage is Triller, I think if the Triller lawsuit in California, not federal court, but in LA, gets dismissed on the anti-SLAPP with prejudice, they could argue, Ethan Klein and et al. Could argue that this Kavanaugh case is trying to sue for the same essential causes of action. The argument will be the Triller case is more over the reviews, and this is more over the Ponzi scheme allegation. But if they are connecting the damages to being the same, well, you're saying the damages were the reviews here, and now you're saying the damages are the Ponzi scheme. You can't have both. Which caused the damage? Because if the damage is both, you can't prove what caused the damage. So damages aren't provable because it's this or it's this or it's that or it's flipped. So where's the damage? And if they're trying to use the Triller damage to prove damage here, which you don't need for per se, but I don't know if this is per se, then it's all going to affect each other. It will affect each other. So I'm just watching the kitty clean his feet. Yeah. Fred's like, are we done yet? It's normal. It's couch cuddle time. I love your live streams. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. Tonight was just extra special. Question, do you have a guess about what will happen with these H3? This one's too soon. I will be surprised if the judge allows Triller to add more information about damages in the SLAPP suit, and I suspect the SLAPP suit will get the anti-SLAPP motion will get granted. That's my thoughts on it. The federal suit, I will be really interested to see how the SLAPP suit affects the federal suit. Give me 1 second to make sure I get to a few of the past super chats. It is because it has been. It's a 4:45 a.m. here. Enchanted Wings. That's so early. Good morning. You're gonna have a productive day because you were up so early. For sure. I love you guys sharing where it is. It's 6:44 a.m. That is early, and I'm a few minutes behind in the chat. Do you think Triller has a decent case against Ethan? I think that it's very telling that they reframed the statements throughout the entire defamation suit. They reframed the statements to say that Ethan accused Kavanaugh of running a Ponzi scheme. Instead of saying Ethan said that he was accused by his business partner. The way they reframed it makes me wonder if there is a deeper reason to that, because saying you were accused by this person and it's publicly available information and I'm just re-reporting it is not as strong as saying they said this. Because if you're relying on reporting and documents, if you're accurately reporting what it said, you are generally covered. The question here is with the update, is it an accurate reporting that there was an accusation when the accusation is in an unfiled court document, but the article has an update saying that he retracted the accusation. So, and that the media blew it out of proportion. So it's whether it accurately reflects the reporting that it's going to break down to. And that will be, I think that's factually very specific. I don't know if most people would have spent the money to sue over that because it can be a very narrow issue. And we will see the heart of the lawsuit says this allegation was made. It's just whether it's considered accurately reflecting that the allegation was made if you're not also saying and later retracted. It was alleged and later retracted. So, question, will there be coverage of the Baldwin interview tomorrow and the lawsuits involved? I've covered the Baldwin lawsuits. I am not going to be streaming tomorrow night. And I will be covering my thoughts on the Baldwin interview in the I Have Thoughts podcast on Patreon, because I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure there will be thoughts. Question, could Jim Bob be charged with perjury? if there's prior inconsistent statements, anything is possible. I have not watched the Megyn Kelly interview, but it's really hard when somebody says they don't remember. It's not a contradictory statement, right? It's I don't remember. The judge didn't find that credible, but it's not a contradictory statement. There would have to be a contradictory statement where under oath they said one thing that contradicted something they also said under oath. And a Megyn Kelly interview is not really under oath anyway, so it would be tough based on this. Did my uni work while listening? Enchanted Wings, great, very productive. Question: we know that Jill Dillard is one of Josh's victims. How will she be referred to in court? I don't love referring to people by their name. Most of the time when people testify to the types of things in the Duggar case, and I don't know that is one of the people, but most of the time they refer to them as Jane Doe in the media for not just humanity and victims' right, but also privacy. So I don't know. I don't assume. I don't look into does. They are does for a reason, and I trust the court process to accurately determine when people need to be does or not need to be does. So, Danya, I know you're just asking a question, but I won't be speculating on who the does are. And if it comes up in the minute orders that they testified under their names, we can talk about the minute orders. But if they testify as does, as they've been referred to, then I will continue to refer to them as such, because I have not looked into and have no knowledge of who the does are that may testify. It could just be that that Bobby Holt testifies. It just depends on how the government chooses to present that evidence. So let me get to a few more super chats. Oh, there's a lot of them. Thank you all. That's so sweet. I said that in such a weird way, like, oh, there's a lot of them. So sweet. And I appreciate that. The super chats, because we're already yellow for sure. But I'm going to go through these as quickly as I can. Thank you, mods, for hanging. Thank you guys for hanging. It's been such a long stream. Ivy said, you got a shout out on Cassandra Bankston video recently. She said she watched your videos on the Tati lawsuit. Fantastic. Oh my God, it's Deanna said, does this mean no Friday Night Live tomorrow? I'm so sad. Yes, no Friday Night Live tomorrow. I have life stuff to do tomorrow, so we bumped it to Thursday. Dustin said, glad to be back and happy holidays in my new Baker. I love your channel, my first live. Yay. Rachel said, Josh Duggar's lawyers are arguing for the clergy penitent privilege. Past appellate courts have ruled that not all discussions with clergy are confidential. Your thoughts, Emily? Well, I like the way the judge ruled. I agree with the judge. Not all conversations are confidential. Ginger Gilbert said, just had jury duty. The VD process for Dyer process was exhausting. Oh, I agree. It's exhausting when you're doing it too. Over 3 hours of questioning. No one in my group was chosen. Frankly, I was glad to be rejected. I mean, in jury selection, it's one of those times when you're like, please just don't be a pick-me girl when it comes to jury selection. Most people aren't. Even though it'd be fascinating to be on a jury, like from the other side, it is exhausting. Meriden said, hiya, Emily, big news. Looks like I'll be joining the DA's office for my large county nearby, or for a large county nearby. I'm in final background investigation now. When they did my final background investigation, they went and door knocked all my neighbors and talked to them. It was wild. I had no idea they did that. Love seeing the crossovers going on in the LawTube sphere. Y'all bring great insight. Thank you. I love LawTube crossovers too, because lawyers, I think lawyers can show what's best about lawyers or what's worst about lawyers. And I hope that LawTube often shows what's best about lawyers. We can all disagree and still have productive conversations, even when we disagree on points of law. Ashley said, would watching your videos cause someone not to be chosen for a jury if we watch videos on that specific case? It's possible, but not just my videos, any media coverage of a case. If you're like, no, I know a lot about this case, that can cause someone not to get chosen. I wouldn't advise that, but you never really know. When you get selected on jury duty, you often don't know what case it's for, depending on the jurisdiction. Catherine said, Emily, I love you. You're so wonderful. Thank you. Sarah sent a catnip tip. They will enjoy that. Grace, don't worry about it, said you will be demonetized. Not much money, but trying to make it worth your while covering this. I cover this because I love sharing the word with y'all. Look, if we get demonetized, we get demonetized. We're here for a bigger purpose. We're here to understand the law and to evaluate it, and sometimes to change it, and to poke fun of fuckery when it exists. Love you the most, said, unfortunately, youngest of the 4 abused sisters, and her husband have been fed a watered down version of the abuse she suffered. Pretty sure she found out the facts with the rest of us based on the reactions. I feel awful for them. I haven't followed a lot of that, deep diving into the family stuff. If Duggar is convicted, will he be in custody immediately, or will sentencing be at a later date? In federal court, it's normally at a later date if somebody's not a significant flight risk and they're already out of custody, which he is. So the pretrial custody restraints would normally apply unless something changes. They can argue to put him in custody. Ali Zamanak said, what are your feelings regarding judges pause sentencing, super long, concurrent, or consecutive? I don't know what you mean by judge pause sentencing. I'm sorry. I find that federal courts are normally lower than state courts. That helps. Avalma said, any chance pastor will be charged for not doing his mandatory reporter duties, not under the exceptions identified. Plus, I think the statute of limitations has probably long run. Julia Blair said, this is so disgusting. I think we're talking about Duggar. I'm so excited I get to catch a bit of your live. Best way to end a rough work shift. I'm glad, even though some of the topics were crazy. On the first day of Christmas, the judge gave to me admissible testimony. Thank you, Bluebird 55 or 858. Kristen Sawyer said, when Jim Bob used selective testimony to son speak against his son, he was in effect shouting loudly against his daughters. How terrible to hear your father actively choose not to protect you. It's an excellent point. Query, can you use the term shot and fraud more? Sure. Sometimes. Julia Blair said, watch your TED Talk last night. I feel that it brought an immediate shift in my way of thinking. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being you and being authentic and vulnerable. We try. I'm addicted to listening to your analysis. Why, thank you. Vibes Cartel said, family. Buddhist beer. I always mispronounce that. And I see it and I still mispronounce it. How long before Mr. Duggar is transferred to actual prison from jail if convicted? He's not in jail. He's out of custody. Depending on the sentencing date, it could be months. Luke said, this is the first time for me watching Emily D. Baker live. Welcome. Devlin, can Ethan sue for harassment after all this? We talked about that a bit. It depends. And possibly. Likelihood of Jen getting off because of the documentary. I think there's a high probability they can voir dire around it and find jurors that have never seen The Housewives and have never seen a Hulu documentary. I think that's possible. The government might get sanctioned, though. I don't think it'll get dismissed for that. It depends on the judge, though. It's hilarious imagining a judge reviewing the H3 podcast videos. Oh, there's a lot of videos linked too. Ibram, thank you for the super chat. The date is wrong on the enlargement surgery. We found it. Jen Gerard said, so happy to catch a live. Merry Christmas to you and the Ponards. Hello, Jen Gerard. Good to see you. Lightsaber lip gloss unite. Allegedly, Angela, we got that one. Mickle Blogger said, thanks for covering Ethan's lawsuit. Also, we caught up. We're caught up. Yay, we're caught up. Natasha said, question, where did the surname Doe come from? I don't know where the John and Jane Does came from to be the unidentified. I don't know the history or is it etymology with words? It's been a long night. I don't know where the history of choosing those words came for. Rachel, oh my God, is this still going? Yes, I feel the same way. We're going to be wrapping up right now. I appreciate all of you for being here. All of you for being law nerds. It was a long one. Thank you. Mods, thank you. Have a good long weekend. If I share anything over social media, I'm taking a bit of a social media break. I have a friend in town this weekend. We're going to do some life things and family things. So if I am updating on YouTube, well, no, I won't be updating on YouTube. If I'm updating on social, I will be on Instagram and Twitter. You're welcome to come follow me there. I mean, they won't verify me, but your following means a lot to me. So thank you. Oh, we have good conversations. Thank you for being here for such a long live stream. I appreciate you. I can't believe my voice is still working. And thanks for being a law nerd. We're just cheers. We've gotten through water. We've gotten through whiskey. We've gotten through lawsuits. We've gotten through fuckery. We've gotten through a lot tonight. I will talk to you soon. Thank you for being here. Bye.
Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.